Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Freddie Mercury sung it best. The show must go on, and that's what we do here at Spaced Out Radio. How are you all doing on this very solemn day for our radio show? In case you haven't heard, the legendary Butch Witkowski passed away this morning at the age of 74. We're going to get more into that a little bit later. But you know what? We got a great show for you tonight. Sinead Whelehan is here, and we're going to talk some ET contact, some aliens, and so on and so forth. And we're going to battle through tonight. We're going to be rough. We're going to be tough. We're going to be gruff. And we're going to make this a goddamn celebration for the legend. All right, let's get to our fans here so far. Race fan in the gold medal position. SJ in the silver. Jurassic Joey takes home the bronze. There's gorgeous Cosmic Floor. Our man Nicola. Ross Lambda is here. Ross will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. All right, ufologist. Nice to see you. Hi, Awesome Man Palmer. Andrew has returned. Yep, he's going to be signing autographs after the show as well because he has time. He'll be signing on the right of the studio, to the right. Wes H., good to see you. Stunning Steph Dickey, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with roll call tonight. And let's see who else is here. Jason, thank you so much for coming on in. And thank you so much for the love and support with that super chat. I really do appreciate it. Andrew, you as well, my friend. Thank you so much for taking the time and that wonderful super chat. Thank you so much. Sultry Susie, it's been a while. We're glad to have you back. Grandpa Holland, nice to see you. Let's keep it going here. Terry Brown, always a pleasure. Chris Enoch, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. Michael Fontaine, Bigfoot in Germany, good to see you both. The Gorgeous Oracles, great to have you here. Mennonite Abe, thank you so much for the love with that super chat. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. All right, continuing on. David Smith, good to have you back. Logan L., nice to see you here. As we continue on with roll call. Gorgeous, Sweetly Morbid Bear, thank you for taking the time. Chris Moe in Austria, good to have you here. Mama Susan, we always love it when you're here. Thank you for joining us. All right, continuing on. Stunning Samantha Hazelwood Gray. There is the Wheat Queen herself, Manitoba Becky, looking lovely tonight. Magnus Zerum, thank you for joining us. As we continue on, Double Tim, thank you so much. Really appreciate you and your love of this show, man. Kevin, thank you for joining us as we continue on with roll call. Lisa Bartoloni, welcome back to the show. You're looking lovely tonight. Doug Shelby, good to see you. Double Tim, I don't know if we deserve that, but thank you for your love. Thank you so much for your love of this show, man. Really appreciate it. Little Marky Spender is here. Yep, little Marky Spender. Yep, he'll take one for the team, always. Richard Elmore, gorgeous Pam McSee, Blue Chicken, how are you? Thanks for coming on in. And there's Richard Elmore again. Spookles the cat, I love you, dear. Honestly. Right there, right at you. That one's for you. Downshift, nice to see you. Ed Clater, James Smith, Phil Minervino, good to see you here. Stu Gerson, always a pleasure. The Gorgeous Dirt Road, thanks for coming on in. George Almaraz, thank you for joining us. Ed, thank you so much for the super chat. I really do appreciate that. Jim Christie, the Jim Christie is here. 416 Bitcoin, awesome Arlene, 405er. Good to have you all here. And Lori Oliphant looking lovely tonight. Bigfoot Rob, I love you, man. Thank you for the text messages earlier. Project Blue Book, Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. Remember, if you're in Austin, Texas, you find Uncle Dale, rub his Power Stash for good luck right through tax time. $5,900, Triple M. Good to see you here. Hi, Brown.flop. And we're going to continue on here. Vash the Impaler, thank you so much for the super chat. I really do appreciate that. And we're going to get going here in about 15 seconds. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. Super chats are open, high open-minded clarity. Mr. Lurks-a-lot. For Butch, everyone, let's do the favor. Let's get your horns up and rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. And it's another great night of broadcasting here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Sinead Whelehan is back. She will discuss ET contact and how to make contact. Then in hour 3, we're going to bring you a story from the swamp. As Swamp Dweller joins us again, we pay tribute to a legend that has left us all too soon. Shirky Poo's got the news as well. And to be honest, with everything going on today, I totally forgot to do a thought of the day. But that's okay. We will survive tonight. Sinead Whelehan is a former research assistant with famed UFO author Grant Cameron and a multiple experiencer in her own right. Her connection to ET contact, consciousness, and the experiencers of UFOs has led her down a path of studying of what has happened to her and others. And this is what she does now. She wants to talk about it. She wants to live it. She wants to know everything that is going on. Sinead Whelehan, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dave, and thank you so much for having me back. I've been looking forward to this. It's good to see you again.
It is very good to see you again. And you know, as someone who is an experiencer myself, these are the type of conversations I absolutely love to have. And let's start off with you a little bit for our audience who may not be as familiar with your research and everything. How did you become an experiencer? What happened to you?
Well, there's a quote that I've found recently that I really, really like. It's by the long dead philosopher Soren Kierkegaard. And what he said was that we live life forwards, but we learn it backwards. And as an experiencer, I found that that's true because my awakening technically didn't really happen until the summer of 2019, when I was given a really, really, really humongous awakening experience that was just like energetically so not overwhelming, but just really massive. And then that continued on for months afterwards. So that's technically my awakening. But the thing is, reflecting backward, ever since I've had that happen, and then multiple other things have continued to happen and have continued to unfold since then, like a door has been opened. I think this is a common phrase or a common experience for a lot of experiencers, that once you have that sort of pivotal moment of awakening, then it's sometimes like a fire hose, that a whole bunch of other stuff happens. But just as valuable to me has been kind of mapping backwards in my life what the other things are that I've had happen, and when my story really did start. So it started really when I was 4, but I didn't have my awakening until the summer of 2019.
So you're relatively new to this over the last few years, but you've decided to jump both feet into the woo pool like the rest of us. And you've decided that this is something that you need to figure out in your life. Why did you become so passionate about this subject?
Well, that's a great question. There's a lot of different answers for that, but if I was going to hone it down to 2, I would say that first of all, the beings that have been communicating with me, who I know at least some of them are ETs, and the reason that I know that is they have given me an incredible amount of validation, like undeniable validation through other people, and they've actually made things occur in my life that have validated what's going on. So I know that it's definitely ETs are involved. There are other beings as well. I'm still in a process of figuring that out, but I'm passionate about it because they made me passionate about it. The awakening experience they gave me was so incredible and really, literally changed my life. I think that day, that I had the experience, because nothing has ever been the same for me since then. Literally all my perspectives about everything in my life, all the pivotal, fundamental, crucial things in my life, friendships, family relationships, my sense of myself, how I'm spending my time, including my work life, my view on what's happening in the world and the universe and interconnectivity and all these things just suddenly became, they all shifted and came into clearer focus for me. So that was such a remarkable experience, not to mention, as I said, the quite incredible continuation of experiences that I've been having. It's so exciting. It's so positive, because my experiences have only been positive, and I don't, that doesn't mean I'm making a blanket statement, by the way, that it's only ever positive. I know there are lots of people that have had difficult experiences, but for me it's only ever been positive. And so that also fuels my passion and my commitment, because it's been such an incredibly positive experience over and over again, and it's helped me grow and expand in every area of my life, in ways that I never thought that I would. And then the other reason that I'm passionate about it is because I feel like this is an incredibly important topic, and not just for me. This is not about this is not about people being special or whatever. Like, some people think that when you're an experiencer and you have an incredible thing happen, that means somehow that you're special and that you know what's going on and you have all the answers. And I think that all of us are special, and all of us have reasons that we are special, some of them are about experiencing direct ET contact, right? And then that is its own experience. But other people have paranormal experiences in different ways. So for me, this seems to be my particular road. And I feel like it's incredibly, incredibly important, because I think that the conversation has been dominated for far too long by those who are in power, rather than, the millions and millions of us on the ground, who are the people who are actually having the frequent contact and, reaching out to each other and forming communities and validating each other's experience, and sort of spreading the word that this is real. This really is happening. There is an incredible amount of evidence, both in lived experience and otherwise, to prove that it's real. And yet we're still kind of going shopping and paying our bills, and, as if this incredible thing is not present in our lives all the time right now. And so I just want to help to spread the word about that. I really think it's important to make people aware that this is a really pivotal time in human history. We've never seen anything quite like this. And ET contact is a very big part of that. It's becoming more and more present in our everyday life. It's making its way into mainstream media more and more in a respectful way. It's about time that happened. But we still have a long way to go. Experiencers that you yourself know so well, Dave, are often not really taken seriously, and that has got to change. And if we do change that, there's just so much amazing potential and possibility for us to learn and grow from, that expands our sense of who we are, what humanity is about, what we're doing on Earth, what Earth is about, and how we connect to the universe at large. So I think that this is a really exciting, incredibly content rich, just paradigm busting time in human history. And I want to be part of it. And I want to help other people become part of it too, if that's what they want.
With so many people blinded by this subject, not believing in this subject, it has been quite the uphill battle, not only for people such as yourself, people like me who have podcasts and radio shows and YouTube channels about this subject, trying to bring knowledge and understanding that this phenomena has a very, very strong opportunity to be real. I mean, it's real to you and me and people like us who've had experiences, whether it's seeing lights in the sky or whether it's having ET contact. But with the majority of people in North America, if we just focus here for a second, there is a lot of people out there, Sinead, that are so blinded by everyday life that this subject is completely unfathomable, pardon me. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear it. They quickly deflect it by saying that's just for nut bar people and people who are crazy. And how do we do this? How do we get that message out?
Great question again. You really do have wonderful questions, Dave. I think that, we need to just keep doing more of what we're doing, like encourage others, encourage each other to come out and to tell our stories and to share them, not only within our community. Like, I've been on YouTube for 2.5 years or something like that. And my family has no idea what I'm doing. Like they don't know that I'm doing this, because that's a conversation that I knew was going to be very, very complicated. So for me, well, most of my family doesn't know. But for me, it's been this process of, here I am like on a screen talking to you and people are hearing my voice. That I'm not exactly hiding in a corner, but I'm still going through my own process of gradually telling people in my life what's really going on with me, because it's not just what's going on with me. It's part of who I am. Like it's so much a part of what resonates with me as a human being, like with the core of who I am. And that's something that you hear in experiencers over and over again, that this isn't just an experience, like you go on vacation and have an experience. This is something that actually changes people, changes who they are, how they think, changes their lives, changes in many ways, a lot of very pivotal things about what makes our life function, in this society and culture. So I think that we need to keep just telling our truth and normalizing it. I don't like the word normal, but basically telling more and more of these stories that people who don't normally have exposure to those stories can start to see the patterns of the common patterns and the common themes that exist among the experiencer communities, wherever you are. Like, even if you're not in North America, it's still remarkable, the frequency of common theme and common patterns and common experiencers that people experiences that people have when they are in contact with ETs. So I think that, you cannot deny strength in numbers, basically, right? Like if more and more people keep coming out and talking about this, it becomes harder and harder to deny that. You can't say that half the world is bananas, right? Even if that could be true, you can't really say, half of the world, like let's say half the world comes out and says, I'm an experiencer and I've met ETs and I've seen UFOs and I believe that they're real and all these things that you talk about on this show, right? Let's say the other half of the world can't say, oh yeah, all those people are completely crazy. Like you can't deny something that's that predominant. But also I think it's important how we do it. It can't just be telling our stories, blah, blah, blah. We have to be aware of how we're telling our stories to help to give it legitimacy, right? Because people really do get freaked out by this. And I think that their reactions of scorn or dismissal or, making fun of people who are experiencers, however you want to phrase it, it really does come from a fear response. And so I have sympathy for that. It's difficult for people to accept things that seem so completely beyond the reality that they know. And so we can help them by telling our story in a particular way, right? Like being respectful, being matter of fact, not embellishing things, to sort of ease somebody into it. I think there's a certain strategy. But as a community, I really think we just have to keep telling our truth, really, and being brave, because it's almost like this is a bit of a bit more of an aggressive phrasing I would normally use, but it's almost like we're doing battle. Like this isn't just about information that's been withheld from us. This is so much bigger than that. It's about our evolution, I think, as human beings. It's about something gigantic that could happen for all of us and for our planet that could really change our lives for the better, in my personal view. And so I think it's important to push against, the manipulation of what could be really going on. There's an awful lot of fear-based stuff out there in the media, and that just really is not my experience, and hasn't been for a long time, and hasn't been the experience of many people that I know.
The battle will continue. It will continue for a long time, and until true and proper disclosure happens. And we don't even know if that'll happen in our lifetimes. I mean, that is the difficult part of this all, is you keep up the battle, but how do you fight? How do you keep up the fight, the energy that goes into talking to people, not on an argumentative level, but on a research-based level? And the reason why I ask that is, look, Sinead, your experiences are much different than mine, that are different than Chris Bledsoe's, that are different than Samantha Mowett's, that are different than people who are listening to this show, and different from people in our chat room. Everybody's experiences are quite individualized. We have people who, claim, and I've had good experiences, bad experiences, and horrific experiences. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yet when we get down to it, and we hear the Whitley Strieber's of the world talking about, getting his butt probed by aliens, or you get other people who say, I took a needle in the eye, or you get other people saying, I watched these aliens, rip a horse apart, where it sounds so science fiction that mainstream, no matter what, because they got blinders on, are not going to believe the tales. And that's the difficult fight that we have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, of course it sounds, to people who are still, as you said, so inside the experience of, let's just use the word normalcy again. I really do not believe in normal. I think normal is a completely fabricated idea, but it's one of the ideas that is so prominent in the way our society and culture functions, right? Like being normal is something everybody feels like they have to strive for. And part of that involves just having a job, having a routine, the same routine we all see on sitcoms, like there's a marriage, there's kids, there are jobs, there's cars, there's a house, there's a dog, whatever. And you pay your bills, and then eventually you retire and you go fishing or whatever, right? And that's fine. I mean, if that's what makes somebody happy, if that's the life and really makes them content, good for you. Nothing against that whatsoever. But a lot of people, particularly at this time, I think, in the world, are really starting to want more. They want to know, they want to feel like there's more substance in their life. They want more substantial human relationships, more substantial ways of connecting with others, more meaning, more substance and meaning in their life. I'm kind of repeating myself, but I just keep hearing that over and over and over again, and seeing that everywhere, whether it's in this community or not. So I feel like people are searching for this, even if they are resistant, because of course that makes sense. They would be, I also see more openness. I guess I should speak only from my personal experience right now, more openness than I expected. When I've told people in my life, I really was kind of like, okay, I have to be prepared for this person possibly never being my friend again. And they haven't done that. That's not been their response. So sometimes people can surprise you too, and I think that's something we have to keep in mind as well. Sometimes it's not as scary as we think it's going to be.
Are you surprised that you haven't had a lot of people walk out?
Well, I didn't go into it with any expectations. I just thought I have to tell my truth. I have to tell that this is, a very big part of my life now. It's a very big part of who I am. And it's what I want my life to be about for the rest of my life. So if people are going to be in my life, I can't hide that. I have to be open about who I am and what's important to me, right? And I think also sometimes you inspire other people by doing that, like just by saying something that is outside of, again, the realm of normal, can make other people feel a little braver about things that they think that they are worried about being seen as weird or strange, So a lot of it, I think, is about building that confidence in ourselves, really fully believing ourselves and believing our experience, and really getting support for that if we need it. And, just building up a strong core so that we're less likely to be emotionally reactive if someone does give us a hard time, or be devastated if we lose a friendship, because it's more valuable to be who we really are, and to be truthful, in how we walk through our lives, because that's what makes us happier. It's just
It's
that
very
simple.
true.
Yeah.
We have about 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. We have Sinead Whelehan here on Spaced Out Radio tonight, ET Contact. For you, as you continue to pour your soul into people who will listen, how do you control your own emotions on this subject? Because the one thing that many experiencers do is they get so passionate about it that really it can be a turnoff to those who are trying to learn. How do you control yourself?
I don't really have to, I guess. Like, it's such a positive experience for me to speak about it and share about it, especially with people such as yourself, who are showing such respect to the experiencer community and who are experiencers themselves. Like, I automatically feel more comfortable and able to do it. But it really is a beautiful, exciting, amazing thing that I get to experience and then talk about. So I don't really have a lot of super strong emotions about it, except very soon after I've had an experience. If it's soon after I've had an experience, I'm often just like, oh my gosh, the vibration and the energy is so incredible that it's very happy making, so you can kind of get very excited about, oh my gosh, it just happened again. And this is progress in the experience. This new thing occurred. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? It's really mysterious and amazing and exciting. And so I love talking about it. But when it comes to having difficult conversations, like somebody maybe not believing me or being respectful, I just remind myself, I can't control what other people think or feel. It's not my responsibility. And, what they want to think and feel is what they want to think and feel. If they're open to hearing this, wonderful. If they're not, they're not. It's not their path in this life, maybe. So that's not up to me.
How many times does it happen when you get into this conversation, and when you're in a group of people, there's always those couple of people who are like, bah, I don't believe in anything. You're seeing things. You better go to a psychiatrist. But the minute that group breaks up, that same person comes back and says, I saw something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. How often does that happen to you?
Oh, I've had that happen. I've had that happen a few times. Yeah. It's funny. You're right. Like, sometimes it's the person who is sort of making the most of a joking scene about it, like really trying to make it seem like, ha 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 ha, this is so ridiculous and funny, and aliens, ooh. But then that can just be a sort of a way of maybe processing their discomfort in that moment and giving them a little bit of distance from the topic, so they have a few minutes to kind of subconsciously go, oh my God, she just brought that up and that happened to me. And then they just can't help themselves, like they really we need to meet each other. It's a need. It's not just for fun. We need this connection because it is so, all the things I've already said, it's such an impactful experience to have something like that happen. And we need to share it, and we need to have it validated by sharing it as well. It helps us grow confidence in our telling of our story.
It really does. And the one thing that you do have to have as an experiencer is confidence in telling your story. And I think that's absolutely huge with what you are doing. And, you do have to have a little bit of skepticism. Let's be truthful, because not everybody's going to be giving the full truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The human mind does play tricks. But in between those words, there is a truthful story that has happened, and that's what we have to try and get out. Sinead, I'm going to get you to hold on right there before we go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Sinead Whelehan is here, experiencer, researcher out of beautiful Toronto, Ontario. Yes, Leaf fans, Yonge Street still has your chairs from last year. You're not going to win the Stanley Cup this year either. Just put that out there. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, welcome.
I'm
We're
actually
back.
I'm gonna grab some water. I'll be right back.
You do that. How we all doing, people? George Almaraz, welcome back to the show. How you doing, buddy? My brother Eugene, good to see you. Mennonite Abe, we're all a little sad today. All a little sad. But that's okay. We will get through this, people. The show must go on. That's all I'm playing in my head right now. Hi, gorgeous Ronnie over on Spreaker. Hello, Sparkles and Penman over on Facebook. How are you? And yeah, we're making this happen. Sorry if I'm a little glum today. Just one of those days. Not good things happen today. But that's okay. We'll make it through. We will make it through, people. For those who do not know, we'll fill you in on a little bit of news from today. I found out first thing this morning from Lon Strickler and Brian Bowden that Butch Witkowski had passed away in his sleep. I'm going to go over that more in detail later on in the show in hour number 3. And we are going to do a tribute show for him on the 31st. That was the night he was supposed to be scheduled to be on the show for his first appearance of 2022. I don't want to book anybody for that night. So I am going to do a tribute show that night for him. I'll have more to say in hour number 3. It just didn't feel right finding another guest for that night, to be honest. And I'm hurting pretty bad. Butch was...
I'm so sorry for your loss. And it's a loss for the show and all your listeners as well.
It's a big loss for us. Mm-hmm. It's a very big loss for us. I'm going to take some time to find the right person to fill in on that show and kind of go from there. But we're going to keep Strange Days going. That's the way he would want it to come, and that's the way it is. Bill Ulm, how are you, man? Good to see you. Love you back. Newfie, no, I did not have a radio show late night around 2010. I was retired from radio at that point, man. Retired. Happily retired. All right. Who else showed up here? Reminder to you. Let me grab it from our... Hey, Fabster, how are you? We did lose a good one. Kurt Seltzer with a splash of lime. Nice to see you. Reminder, I will be speaking in San Francisco, UFO Con 2022, February 25th to 27th. We would appreciate if you're in the area, come on down and visit. We're going to hang on out. I know a few people are already, including Brad from Texas. So we're very happy about that. And don't forget, if you haven't signed up yet for our Las Vegas party, yes, it's coming up in just a couple months here. God, do we need it now? We will be toasting Butch that first night. Just saying. It's looking like we will have a live show from Las Vegas. Yeah. So if you're going to go to Vegas, what I need you to do is I need you to click on the link that I just posted there. And you can't click on it on the screen, but in the chat room. And if you're 100% going, you know what? We want to see you there. First 50 people, we're going to have a swag bag for. So make sure you check that on out. Well, I am kind of working on radio. Yes, Doug, and the 6 radio stations that we are on, well, they kind of need our programming. Yes, I know there's some belief out there that we are not on terrestrial radio, but yes, we are on 6 radio stations. Hello, gorgeous Diesel Girl. Welcome back, you Fraser Valleyite. And let's see who else has joined us here. Phil, thank you so much for the super chats. I'll go through them next half hour, everyone. Thank you. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us here on Spaced Out Radio. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Hello, and remember that you can check out all of our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with one of our favorites. Sinead Whelehan is here. We're talking ET contact, and we're having a good time. Sinead, welcome back.
Thanks so much, Dave. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Do you like titling yourself as an experiencer?
Do I like titling myself? Yeah, I do. I do. Yes. Should I riff on that?
No, I mean, you know what? I do too. Like when I speak at a conference or something, I'll say I am a journalist. My line is I'm one of the only journalists who's an experiencer.
I like that. That's a great point.
Yeah, and so a lot of people like it. They like the title of it being an experiencer. It gives something. People love titles, all right? And, I mean, Lord knows that today, believe it or not, there's studies shown on this, that people would rather have a title than a pay raise at work because it shows a sense of authority, especially to younger generations. That's why you see at so many places now, somebody making like just $1 over minimum wage, but they have a title of a assistant manager of flipping burgers or night shift manager or whatever, because people are addicted to titles. And thank you, social media, for another one. But for you, the reason why I ask that is because the research you've done into this topic is not just for the benefit of you. It's for the benefit of other people who are having this experience. What have you learned personally about ET contact in these few short years?
Oh boy. That's an enormous question. I've learned so much. It's hard to boil it all down to a few things because there are so many researchers out there who've made such a significant impact on the field, and their perspectives vary somewhat. What I find most fascinating is the fact that the research is leaning more and more towards it being about consciousness, not so much about the physical aspects of these experiences, So while the technology is definitely fascinating and should be investigated and is being investigated, although that's not officially announced yet, it's only one part of the puzzle, like figuring out how a UFO flies and back engineering and all these things that people are really fascinated with. That's just one part of it. There's a bigger question at hand, which is what are they doing here? How long have they been coming here for? Because the research does say, depending on your field, some people are very nuts and bolts about their research. Other people are a little bit more exploratory or like experimental. So depending on the type of research you're doing, there's a lot of paperwork, documentation, scrolls, scriptures, all kinds of things dating way, 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 way back, like thousands and thousands of years ago, including pieces of art, innumerable pieces of art from cultures all over the world. This is always an international thing. This is not a North American thing. And a lot of times people think that it is. now we're expanding and we're starting to realize that this really is a global phenomenon. So there's more diversity coming into the field, which is something I think is incredibly important. But, the fact is that there is a tremendous amount of material that indicates very strongly that ETs have been here for a very long time, and might have contributed to the development of certain technologies we use now, or, agricultural methods, or structures we've built. Like, there are things that we can't explain that have been leaps in human knowledge and human development, such as agricultural practices, or, the pyramids in Egypt. Huge leaps forward for those civilizations that are somewhat mysterious. Like, there isn't really an explanation for how people would have been able to do these specific things. So the research now is, I feel, catching up to that a bit more. It's become not so much about the nuts and bolts. What are UFOs? What are the shapes of them? And, what do the beings inside look like? It's become a lot more philosophical and become more esoteric. And what I find really, really fascinating is that different fields of inquiry, there's science, there's medicine, there's history, there's whatever, psychedelics even, all these different fields that would seem to have nothing to do with each other. Quantum physics is another huge one, variant of quantum physics. So, there's all these different fields, and they all are starting to intersect now in their growing understanding and information gathering about what UFOs are, what ETs are, but more philosophically, why they are here and how they may have always been here and have participated for millennia in, all kinds of different aspects of human development. And that could even be down to our DNA. I mean, there's so many different interesting ideas out there that come from some really incredible thinkers. So there's a juicy treasure trove of information out there to find, to investigate all these different ways that ETs and UFOs have manifested in the world. And that's really what I find the most fascinating, is how broad and varied and ancient a lot of these experiences and this information, how old they really are, and then how now it seems to be a time for a lot of researchers where they're starting to tie together bits and pieces that have been in all these other fields that are now starting to intersect and create a fuller picture of what could be going on. And I find that incredibly exciting. I think it's incredibly exciting that quantum physics is able to give us a clearer idea of what our reality actually is, as opposed to what we think it is. Just a lot more mind expanding information coming our way rather than nuts and bolts. And that's what I'm all about.
Does the mainstream public want or need ET contact?
I think that the mainstream public, I don't think is there yet. Do they need it? That's a big question. I mean, I think that a greater understanding and interaction with the universe as a whole is something that we all need, because I think it's part of our innate nature as well. And, there's science backs that up, right? Like, there are structures in our bodies and in natural systems all over the earth that mimic structures and materials that are found in outer space, on other planets. It is already an intersectional experience. It's already an integrated experience. Like, we're not just one lone planet floating around in this gigantic universe all by ourselves doing our own thing. Like, this is all part of a whole, So do we need to know? Yes, I think we need to know. But is the mainstream audience, or is the mainstream population ready? Oh, not so sure about that. I think that our community can play a very, very valuable role in helping those people get used to the idea. And that's why I think it's important for us to tell our stories.
See, one of the conspiracy theories that I think, and this is just me, I believe that one of the major reasons why they aren't disclosing anything is because the younger generations, from the millennials on down to the babies being born this second, are very much more spiritually in tune.
Yes.
And a lot of people may not agree with that, but the further we move away from the elder generations, my parents' age, your parents' age, even into my age, in my mid to late 40s, where there's still a lot of religious connotation going on of mainstream religion, whereas the younger generations seem to be finding their own spirituality by whatever means necessary and whatever they feel comfortable with. Do
Mhm.
you think that maybe, and this is my conspiracy theory, that the governments of the world are waiting about ET contact because the younger generations are going to be more open and adept to accepting life from other planets visiting here?
Oh, I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm not sure that the government is that tuned into what's happening with the younger generations. I don't know. I mean, I think that sometimes we attest a lot more to the government than what could be actually going on. Like, I think most people in the government are just doing their jobs. Like they're just as much entwined in the 3D as all the people we were talking about earlier who have not yet woken up to what's going on. Right? I think that the majority of the government is made up by people like that too, who have no idea what's going on. So, are they aware enough of what's happening in our community to be able to make a choice like that? Maybe. I think there's all kinds of guesswork we can make about why they would be withholding this information. Like, why not just tell us flat out that this stuff is true and it is real and it's
Well,
physical and otherwise.
well,
Mhm.
I realize exactly. I know exactly what you're thinking. I feel that way too.
Mhm.
All we got to do is just say yes. That's it. The word yes. You don't even have to go into detail. Are aliens here? Yes. Have we been contacted? Yes. What's
Mhm.
happening? Yes. Okay, it's a one-word answer. But the point that I'm getting at here, Sinead, is I think they are scared. They are scared for the military industrial complex. They
Mhm.
are scared for the religious communities because remember, out of the 7.8 billion people on this planet, at least 4.5 billion of them are still religious one way or another, of the praying to the 5,000 gods that are hovering around this planet at any time.
Right.
But there's also the economic factor. What happens to the economy? Does it crash the economy? Does it cause a huge decrease in value of everything? There is a lot that needs to be weighed out with this decision. I think a lot of that decision was made back when the New York Times article came out, and
Mhm.
then the evidence by the Pentagon in 2020 that this stuff is real. Again, last year, what we're seeing now with the DNI reports and everything that's come out, I
Yeah.
think we, I think we're into something deep here, Sinead, that is all preparation, waiting for the next two generations to die off, so that way the younger generations can be more open-minded and accepting.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. I mean, Dolores Cannon talks about, if anybody follows Dolores Cannon, she's the QHHT, quantum hypnosis healing therapist, expert, or she's passed away since, but she also channeled and was a remarkable person in other ways. And she and some other people have talked about these different waves of humans coming into Earth around, gosh, I can't remember how many decades, but over a series of generations, essentially. And that, one generation was supposed to be the one to kind of first come along and start planting the seeds and making sort of, preparation for other people to be able to digest the reality of these possibilities a little bit more easily. And then that second wave was going to be able to help the next one and so on, right? So I really would like to think that that is true. I think that I mean, it's apparent that the rollout of disclosure is definitely very deliberate, very slow, very controlled. Why are they doing it that way? Gosh, again, we can only speculate. Like you, I'm not sure that the mainstream population would be able to handle the reality right away. I think it does need to be done very carefully. But why not? Like we're already in a gigantic period of global shifts and changes and upheavals and the soil being turned in so many fundamental ways right now, because of what's happening in the world. It's changing in a very, very dynamic way. Climate change, politics, all kinds of stuff. And so why not take advantage of that? Why not let disclosure occur sooner rather than later while we're already going through all these fundamental changes? Because I think it's inevitable that people are going to be a bit shook, right? Like when or if this reality is truly revealed officially and visibly to
Well,
people over the world.
Sinead, I think a good way to kind of put that is, and exactly what David S. says in our chat room, and we've said it numerous times on this show. Look at the way people have treated people through COVID. Look at the
Yeah.
way we are now. And I'm not trying to start a big COVID debate here, okay? Because frankly, I don't care if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. Let's just be human beings. And we're not seeing people be human beings right now,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
I mean, look at the way people ran to this day, run to the store to empty out the meat and the milk and the toilet paper and the vegetables and the fruit. You know, there is no food shortage. There's a stupidity extension going on in this world right now with a lot of things. That's not downplaying the disease. That's not downplaying the subject. We're not thinking clearly. Now, you bring on aliens into this. How is the world going to react? We are going to be out of everything. And I think that this has been an eye-opener, COVID that is, for how the public is going to react during a major world event again. Now, I'm not saying war, because I know tensions are high once again, and it's all around Mother Ukraine. You know, damn Ukrainians, always stirring it up. I'm Ukrainian, by the way, so don't take that as an insult, fellow Ukrainians. Okay. But the point that I'm getting, and no vax talk in our chat room, thank you very much. Okay. The point that I'm getting at, Sinead, is we can't handle a disease in 2022. How are we going to handle finding out life from a different planet?
Yeah, I mean, that is such a huge question and a very, very relevant concern. And if I was going to suggest anything as any kind of a remedy, I really, really think that we need to do some hardcore personal work. Like, I'm all about personal work. I'm all about, establishing a really strong relationship with ourselves. And I don't mean in the usual Hallmark card kind of way, like make yourself a nice cup of hot chocolate and have a bath and that you've spent time with yourself. I mean, like actual, real, hardcore personal examining of who am I? Like, what kind of human being do I really want to be? How do I want to respond in a situation where I may feel threatened or I may feel like a fear response or an anxiety response coming up? What kind of human being do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to be living? How do I want to be treating other people? How do I want to be treating the planet and animals? How do I want to be, what kind of a person do I want to be? Like, what is my life for? Why not take advantage of this time where everything is shifting and changing to do that? And I don't, how can we not benefit from doing that kind of personal examination? Because it always results in a clearer connection with who we truly are, like our actual nature underneath all the conditioning and the, illusions that we're fed all the way through our life. And then the more connected we are to ourselves in a really authentic, grounded way, the more likely contact is to happen. Like that seems to be what the data says, is that people who already have a sense of questioning about, the world, about themselves, looking for a deeper meaning in life in whatever way, those people are often the ones who have contact happen because they're open to receiving it. Even if there's a tiny, tiny little crack there, that still allows for the possibility of the receptivity to be there for the contact to occur. So I think that a lot of it, quantum physics kind of backs this up. A lot of what quantum physics is talking about is how, and this is old news, everything is essentially energy. Like things appear to be solid and real, but they're not actually solid and real, including ourselves. We're made up of bajillions of vibrating molecules that create the illusion of something being solid. So everything is essentially made up of energy, like perpetual motion and vibration and also light. Okay. So if we talk about that just for a minute, those three things, energy, vibration, and light, are directly in alignment with a lot of hardcore spiritual practices. And when I say hardcore, I don't mean fundamentalist. I mean really like established, disciplined spiritual practices that people can follow. And then, you're also nurturing a sense of, I'm going to rephrase this. I think that when you're doing that, when you're focusing on the energy and the vibration, which is the true nature of everything around us, you're able to tune into that in yourself as well. You know, the fact that we are energy and vibration. How do we send that out into the world? Well, with our thoughts and our actions, right? And again, this is backed up by science. We create certain thoughts. We can affect the molecular structure, literally, of the other beings or other physical things around us. So there's an example I gave you last time I was on the show of, oh, thanks, Nicole. Nice to see you. Of this study that was done, I believe, in Japan, where there was a circle of people sitting around a body of water, a pond or a lake, and they all did a meditation. And they did 2 different types of meditations. So they tested the water. They took samples of water both before and after they did these things. One meditation was sending bad thoughts, so-called bad thoughts, to the water, like telling the water it was bad, you know, just telling it bad things about itself, like the same way you do it about a person that you're trying to put down. And the water molecular structure changed and became distorted and became, you know, ugly. Like, that's one way you could put it, right? But then they did a meditation where, and again, they took samples of the water before and after. They did a meditation where they sent only love and only positive thoughts and positive vibration. And again, this is a meditation. They're not doing anything except sitting around the perimeter of this body of water, sending these thoughts and feelings to the water. And both times it changed the molecular structure of the water. And the change of the molecular structure, the actual visual physical change, reflected the vibration and energy of what was sent to them. So the ugly thoughts and feelings that were sent to the water made the molecular structure ugly. It made it distorted, and it was sort of out of place and looked like a disease, and actually similar to an invading bacteria or a mutating cell, right? Very similar to that kind of look. The other molecular structure was absolutely beautiful, perfect, crisp, clean, detailed, gorgeous structures like snowflakes, you know. So I really think it's important to think about that, you know, the fact that we are doing that all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. We are affecting our own molecular structure, our energy and our vibration with the thoughts and feelings that we choose to have. And so the more we take responsibility for that, the more your life changes. It just does. Like, you become more connected to who you are, what you want in life, what happiness can be for you, kindness, you know, patience, and ways that you can be easier on other beings around you as well. And so you're raising your vibration, so-called, right? And that often can result in more contact. So for me, it's really, I can only speak about my own experience, right? Like, I'm no worldwide expert or anything like that. I think everybody can only speak about their own experience and their own sort of set of knowledge and what they're drawing from. And for me, the personal work aspect of it has been huge. The more I do that, the more contact I have and the more varied and rich and meaningful it is. So I think there really is something to that. If we want to be better prepared for contact, we got to go here first, inside.
Sinead Whelehan is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 90 seconds here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Sinead, for ET contact, do you recommend it for people who want to learn?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Do you recommend ET contact for people who want to learn?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's much, much easier than you think. And they want to be in contact with us. Like, they really do. You know, I think that it's something that we need to entertain a bit more than the fear-mongering aspect that is so clearly being marketed to us through, like, let's say, films and television. You know, it's just not the reality for a lot of people. And if you look at something like Ray Hernandez's free survey and all the data that was collected through that survey, the vast majority of experiencers have had positive or neutral experiences. It's only a small number of people that have had really frightening experiences. So I think that those experiences are just as valid as anybody else's. But I want to say that as a way of encouraging people. Like, I think a lot of the marketing is, you know, be scared, they're going to come and take us over. But I just don't feel like that's actually the case. That's me.
Right. All right. Well, we will get to more ET contact when we return on hour number 2. How do we do it? How do we get them aliens to buzz us back on our invisible antennae that are coming out of our heads to say, hey, we're here. and we want to make contact, ET contact, with Sinead Whelehan coming up next on the Mighty SOR. We're having a great, great night here on the show. Spaced Out Radio's Hour 2 continues right after this. Hi, Obi Flett. Hello, Sonia's News. Looking lovely tonight. Millennium, good to see you, my man. How you guys doing? Eva, how are you? Eva. Remember Wally? Eva. Stunning Stephanie Jackson. There she is. All right, I'm done.
I love how everybody who comes to your show gets a really excellent ego boost as well, Dave. It's the only reason that I'm here, really. I just want to hear you say nice to me. And Wendy, hello, and thank you. Great to know that you're here. Okay, I will be right back again.
All right. All right. How we doing? Knucker, how you doing? Oh, Nick FM, you returned. Wonderful. Who else has joined us? I don't know. Tits McGee, thank you for filling in for the vacationing Veronica Corningstone. It happens. It happens. I want to say a big thank you so far tonight to Surf Chair, Vinman, Patrick, Ethereal Aura from earlier, Jason, Andrew, Mennonite Abe, Tim, Ed, Vash, Dirt Road, R&R, Lori, Phil, and Fapster for the wonderful love tonight. I really appreciate the super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for the love. And it's been a long day. Neil Attenbury, how are you? Good morning to you over in the UK. Bet he has a great accent. I'm Neil Attenbury. You're listening to the BBC. I don't know. Gary Roosin, how you doing, man? All right. I'm having fun with you tonight, Sinead.
I'm so glad to be able to put a smile back on your face, Dave. I know you were feeling a little blue when we started.
I needed you today. Thank you.
Oh, I needed you too. I love these conversations. It's great to come here and
I need you now more than words can say. I need you now.
I haven't thought about that song in so long. And actually, I was making a 90s playlist the other day. I'm going to put that on it.
Nice.
Cheese.
Nice. The best power ballad of the early 90s, Never Let You Go by Steelheart.
I don't know that one. You're going to have to send it to me.
Oh, it's crazy. That singer, I mean, he must get kicked in the nuts about 17 times through the song just in order to hit those high notes. Terp Girl, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How are you? Oh, seriously. Seriously, it's crazy.
I am a sucker for power ballads. I am a total sucker for power ballads. I was listening to Melinda Etheridge, remember Come to My Window?
Yeah.
That's like a stadium rock power ballad. I love it. I was singing in the car. You know, people were looking at me. I was like full on singing in the car, you know, so all you see when you look over is someone silently giving it their all.
This is where I wish that we could play music on the show. Where are you, Sinead? Okay, there you are, dear. I've sent you "Never Let You Go." Great power ballad.
Okay.
To me, that's the greatest one. Greatest one.
What about Huey Lewis and the News?
I loved Huey Lewis back in the day.
They were great. Nicole saying "Love of a Lifetime." I don't know that one either. Nicole, you have to send that to me. I don't know that one. Who's it by?
Love of a Lifetime. Who is that? Oh, I could see the band. Gotta find a way in a lifetime. Oh my God.
It's not White.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't White Lion. It was one of those horrible bands. One of those C leagues. Hey, let's give a quick shout out here. We got about a minute before showtime. Where are you? Let's give a shout out to Mennonite Abe, race fan and his wife, Teresa, Chuck G, E. Niles, Paradigm Theories, and OB Flet, Brad, Jamie, and Matt, all going to Vegas. We got 19 people signed up for Vegas so far, April 22nd to 24th for the SOR party. You want to come on in and join us and have some fun. You have to. It's going to be fun. We're going to do a live show there too. We are. I've got it figured out. And hello. Yes.
I bet that when everyone's gathered all together in Las Vegas for that party, that you will get some sightings. I would not be at all surprised with all that combined collective energy. And if you do something like,
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Butch. Butch is our password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as a clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. How do we make contact with extraterrestrials? This is what we're going to find out this next half hour tonight. Sinead Whelehan is our guest on Spaced Out Radio. She's just an experiencer and researcher out of the beautiful city of Toronto, Ontario. Sinead, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome. Your laugh is infectious, by the way. So people listening in are going to be like, what's that laughing in the intro? And I'm going to be like, that's Sinead.
It was my fault.
That was her. Her fault. Her fault. ET contact. You say anybody can do it. Why would we want to do it, number one? But number two, what's it like?
Oh, gosh. Why would we want to do it? Well, I think we've almost covered that. I mean, it really is, on one level, it's just amazing and exciting and mysterious and, completely changes your paradigm. It just completely changes your perspective on life, the universe, and everything, because how can you possibly look at things the same way after you see something like that? And as you were saying earlier, I think it is important to be a bit of a skeptic. I definitely think there's room for skepticism. I'm all about balance, right? So I'm not somebody who thinks that we should be all one way or all the other way. I think it's very important to be a critical thinker and to take into account both sides or all sides of anything before you draw a conclusion. And sometimes conclusions can't be drawn and don't need to be drawn. So just because somebody has an experience, that doesn't mean there's something going to get answers to life, but it does mean that they can start investigating meaning, I think, in a different way, and really asking questions about what's going on out there, what's going on outside of our planet, because we really are in a position now where we can start thinking a lot bigger than maybe we ever have before, partially because of the technology we have available to us. So it is easier than people think. I mean, it really is. I really come back time and time again to it being about your intention, where your heart is at, where your mind is at, where your energy and vibration is at, because if you're trying to do a C5, meaning a contact, initiating contact with ETs, let's say by yourself in your living room, which you can do. But if you're doing that and you're just like, okay, I want to meet you, but I don't really want to meet you because I'm really scared of what you're going to look like, it's not going to happen. If you're scared, most likely, and you're sending that out, most likely it's not going to happen. But if you try to look at it like they are coming for, a reason, they could have attacked us ages ago. So I think this whole thing about, why are they really here? Are they going to try to take us over? I just don't believe in that. That's my personal view, because it has not been my personal experience, but it also does not line up at all with the research that I found, or the research that Grant has found, or any of the other major researchers. There's really not any firm, clear evidence that they are here to hurt us. But there is a lot of evidence that they have been here to help, to heal, to assist, to communicate, to facilitate contact with them. So then moving on to your the second part of that question, what is it like? Again, I can only speak from my own experience. It is wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. It's mind-blowing. It takes a bit of time whenever something big, especially big, happens. It takes me a bit of time to integrate it. And for me, the integration is actually more important than the experience, because we can have an experience and then completely block it out, or pretend it didn't happen, or allow our initial shock and awe to become the fullness of the entirety of that experience. But if we take some time to really kind of sit with it and integrate it and sort of get to know the experience as well as we possibly can, then it really does have more value, because I feel like it just sits in you a little bit more firmly and with more clarity, right? If you take the time to really to write about it, or just to talk about it with someone, to just digest it in some way. So that's a very big part of my experience. But it really has overall, I'm just going to make a sort of general blanket statement for now. It is wonderful. It's really, really, really wonderful. And it makes me happier than anything else. It just feeds who I am. It feels like home. It feels familiar. It is expanding on so many levels. And I just love it. And I trust them, like they give me what I need, and and when I say that, I mean, whenever I kind of need to jump a bit forward in my understanding, or if I'm ready to learn more, if I'm ready to have more contact, they show up in just the way that I need, like it's never too much and it's never too little. I'm always feeling really grateful for whatever I get. And it comes in like really small ways or in really big ways. But overall, it's just the most incredible experience. Like I have to keep kind of pinching myself and saying, is this real? And then I get another form of validation that just makes it undeniable that it's real. The validation is really extraordinary.
How do you know it's them and not just some type of woo happening in your mind? Especially, like, are they, like, if it's mindful communication, and not physical?
Yes. So I know that it's not just happening in my mind, because I actually went to talk to a psychiatrist about it. I'm somebody who's always believed in exploring myself, like exploring my own mind, getting to know myself as a human being the best that I can, so that I can uproot, unhealthy or non-beneficial ways of being, either for myself or the way I treat other people or animals or whatever, to just become a better person, right? So a lot of my life has been about investigating myself and kind of turning over the soil of who I am and trying to become a better human being. And so part of that has been going to therapy. So I put myself in therapy when I was 15. There's a place for therapy. Sometimes there's not a place for therapy. And, I think for experiencers, there's definitely a fear of going to therapists and being labeled as crazy, which I think is a very reasonable fear. In my case, I got really lucky. I got a really, really compassionate, empathetic woman as a psychiatrist who I saw only a few times, and wanted to talk to specifically about this and about other tremendous changes that were happening in my life as a result of these experiences. And so she was a very accepting person, but also I needed to say out loud to somebody that this was happening to me. I needed to verbalize it to someone. I needed to say it out loud. Like, this was really, really early on in my experience, and I needed to verbalize it to somebody else and be heard. And I guess being able to do that with a psychiatrist was sort of my way at the time of giving myself a very protected ethical space to do that in, right? So regardless of whatever her response to me was going to be, on some level, I just needed to say it. I just needed to say out loud and describe what was going on, right? And so I talked to her about it a few times, and it was not only about that. That's not the only reason why I was going to talk to her. I was going through some other transitions in my life, and I wanted to try to find some tools to manage those transitions well. And so I kept bringing it up to her, and, she would ask me, sometimes I'd call her just to ask her something about something else. And she'd say, "So are you still having the experiences?" And I would say, "Oh yeah." So if this is a trained psychiatrist, this is somebody who went to medical school. If she thought that I was mentally ill, I'm pretty sure she would have made me medicated, tried to get me medicated, or told me to go to get some kind of treatment or be, assessed in some way or whatever, but she didn't. And I also have done so much personal work on myself. I know myself fairly well, and I'm not somebody who has an issue with saying, I made a mistake, or there's this part of me that is kind of flawed that I really think I can improve on. So if I felt like I was unstable and that was reflected in my life, for example, not showing up to work or having dramatic bust ups in relationships or suddenly spending $10,000 or whatever, then I feel like I would have been able to observe that. And also other people would have been telling me that, like, people would have been concerned, right? None of that has happened. My life has become more stable. I have become more happy. I have become more connected with my purpose in this life. Like I'm in a better position than I have been mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in the conditions of my life. The physical and material conditions of my life are all better than they were before I had my awakening. So, I want to say that to encourage people as well. I think that there really is this sort of fundamental shift in thinking and in attitude and in need that is starting to permeate our different levels of our society in really subtle ways. And, I think that's kind of fascinating in and of itself, because I'm not sure that 5 or 10 years ago, let's say 10 years ago, that I would have been able to say to any psychiatrist, I think this is happening. I think I'm communicating with aliens or extraterrestrials, or however you want to phrase it, without them saying you're definitely bonkers. But now it's become more digestible for people who don't fully exist in our community to entertain the possibility that this is real, because there's more and more official information coming out. There's more and more evidence coming out. And I really just feel like people are starting to think differently. The systems that we've been relying on all these years are breaking down. And I feel like that's correlating with a shift in our needs. We need to live differently. Like, people are showing that in so many different ways, including getting back to rural communities, growing their own food. Like, this is stuff that's becoming very commonplace now, right? People wanting to connect more with the land, connect more with each other, get off screens. So, to me, this all is interconnected. It's all part of the same thing, and we're all doing this together.
It is very interesting that this is a fundamental change that we all have to make physically, emotionally, spiritually. For a lot of people out there, though, Sinead, if it does happen, they may not know. They're not tuned into that little voice in their head or that meditative connection that may happen. How do people know that it's not their imagination that they are connecting with, that it is actual ET beings, if it's more on an etherical level?
That's a hard question to answer. I mean, some people are some people are deluded, right? Some people might be having an experience that is not what they think it is, and their mind is translating it in that way. But I think most people really are having these experiences, and we need to I think we need to ask, we need to keep something of a skeptical mind, like that's a very important part of it, is asking ourselves questions to evaluate and assess our own experience. And then that's part of the value of doing what you do, Dave, when people come on your show and have conversations about this. Like, it allows for all the listeners to kind of reflect and evaluate their own experiences as well through hearing those of others. So community is incredibly important. So I think it's always important to look for ways to test your experience, right? Ways to experience validation. So the validation is a very, very big part of it for me. And that's partially why I've asked for it. And I'll give you an example if you like. So I know that it's ETs because, first of all, when I had my awakening, it was immediately after I saw, and I was not in ufology at all. I was not at all in ufology. Was not thinking about ETs, was not thinking about UFOs. Always loved the idea, always thought they were probably real, but that's pretty much the extent of it. And then I had this massive awakening after watching a Bob Lazar documentary that I picked completely at random. The one that I think Jeremy Corbell, pretty sure it was him, he directed it. Bob Lazar in Area 51. And it just blew my mind. And immediately after that, I had my awakening. And during that awakening, I got the incredibly clear, firm message, like so clear and so firm that it was them. And I just knew it was ETs. Like I had absolutely no reason to think that. I wasn't looking for them. I wasn't in ufology. This is not something that was in my mind at all. So, it's not like I tried to make it happen. Like, it literally came out of nowhere. And I just immediately knew that it was them. And so they gave me, instructions and directives and stuff like that, and a very encouraging message. And then some time passed, and, I was very much in a space of, oh my God, this just happened. This is totally real. I was not doubting it whatsoever. But then about 2.5 or 3 weeks after that, I had to go back into the so-called real world because I had accepted a job for a couple of weeks, 2.5 weeks, marking government literacy tests for students who are in Ontario. So these are kids who were all 10 or 11 years old, who were having to write government literacy, mandated government literacy tests to, so the government could collect data on where levels of literacy were with certain school-age children. So I was marking the same question over and over and over again in these booklets, right, that we had to go in and work on every day. And by day 3, I was feeling like, oh my God, I might be going crazy, because the stark contrast of being where I had been after my awakening in that space, and a lot of it was just being in my apartment, madly gobbling up, any information I could possibly find about what could be going on with me. And then boom, I'm back in the heavy sort of, 3D reality where I'm in this warehouse with hundreds of exhausted teachers, and we're, beeping and booping with these machines on barcodes and stuff. Like, it was just such a totally different vibration, right? Such a totally different experience that I felt like, oh my God, I'm back in the so-called real world. This is what I'm familiar, what I know. Did that, meaning my awakening, did that really happen? I might be going bananas. And so I started getting really nervous, and I went home that night after 3 days of doing this job and just kneeled down on my living room floor and, wholeheartedly asked for help. I was really in a vulnerable position because I felt like this is the most incredible thing that could possibly have ever happened to me. But I need to know that it's real. I need you to prove it to me. And that's what I asked them for. And I was like, please, I need you to prove it. I really need you to prove it, because I can't go on from here without knowing for sure. So the next day I wake up, I go to work, and for the first, and this is the summary, for the first 45 minutes of the day, every single booklet that I picked up, that was just a random, free writing, 2-page free writing exercise with only a prompt, very short prompt to guide them. These age 10 or 11-year-old kids in grade 6 in elementary school were suddenly writing about free energy, flying cars, portals, timelines, multiple realities, the earth is alive, there's an intergalactic council, it was just unbelievable. For 45 minutes, every single booklet was about these topics. And for the 3 days previous, nothing at all. And for the rest of that day and every day after that, nothing at all. So I thought, okay, that's just too bonkers. The hair on my arm stood up. I could not believe it. 45 minutes over and over and over again. So that just blew my mind. I have not doubted them since because it was too crazy. How can you possibly? It doesn't make sense that I would have experienced that. Like what they wrote had nothing to do with the prompt that they were given at all. So it was very clearly an answer. Right? It was them saying, yes, this is for real. And we're going to show you for 45 minutes. And then many other times I've asked them for encouragement, or I've asked them to, give me something that I need, or they just show up and they do it anyway. Like they'll give me, I get a lot of stuff in the clouds. I get messages through a psychic who has been professional for 28 years and has never, ever channeled ETs or anything like that before. And suddenly she's getting messages from ETs to give me specifically. So she's now talking to me about it and saying, Sinead, I need to talk about this because I'm not used to, like, this is weird for me. And this is a psychic, right? Who people think, like, that's already quote unquote alternative, and she's somebody who talks to people about their dead grandmothers and their dead grandfathers and their dog who passed away. And then all of a sudden ETs are coming through, right? So for her, it was crazy to experience that. How do you explain that?
I don't know. I really don't know, but I do know we have some audience questions. We got 3 minutes left. Let's start with Ange in Australia. Sinead, have you seen other contactees on your experiences with extraterrestrials?
I have not. No, I haven't. Sorry, very short answer for that.
I've seen Samantha Mowat.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've seen Samantha Mowat once.
Wow.
Once I saw Science Bob and Olaf Phillips once. I don't know. Like these were all dreams. All dreams.
Wow.
But there was ETs involved in those dreams.
Wow. That's very cool.
Newfie in British Columbia, doesn't make sense, I know, says, what races have you encountered?
Well, mostly the experiences I have are through, it's kind of hard to explain. I will get a certain feeling and then I get messages that come through telepathically or in imagery or both. But what they've started doing is showing up now. So the only ones that I know, I think, that I've had contact with they look kind of like grays, but I'm not sure that they're grays. They could be I'm completely blanking. There's a race that looks quite a bit like the grays, but are taller and have a slightly different shaped head and are supposed to be nicer. So I don't know exactly who they are. I'm not actually that interested in who they are. It's more the messages and the direction and the encouragement and guidance that I'm being given that's important to me. But I did have a gray-like being materialize in front of me this past August. That's the first time I've actually seen one. And then it showed up again a little bit later, a few hours later in my room at this inn that I was staying at. And then I experienced some lost time. And later on that night, I was part of a CE5 circle where a photograph was taken of me, a random photograph. And there's a small gray-like being standing right beside me. And then in the corner of the photograph is a sort of reptilian-looking skull, half of a reptilian-looking skull. So I don't actually know for sure who they are. I just know that they're around.
All right, we got time to squeeze in one more. We got 1 more minute here. John is asking, Sinead, what do you think about or should be done with families of people who were unfairly labeled as crazy and had their lives ruined by ET contact and people not believing them?
Well, I think that they should be supported by the community. I think that they need to hear the support and that they are not crazy and that, they're cared for and that there are other people out there that are like them. So I think that all we can do is be there for people the best that we can, in experiences like that. It's horrible that those things happen. That's a little bit, there's some really kind of widespread negative mythologies out there about what experiencers have happened. And I think it's important to, really make sure that that's not just like fear-based stuff that's being passed on, but that these things have actually occurred in the way that, the way in which you've heard them. Because sometimes there's some sensationalistic stuff out there around ET contact, to kind of scare people off or make it seem more dramatic than it actually is, if that makes sense. It is already dramatic, but like sensationalizing it and saying that, entire families killed themselves is, we have to be careful when we say whatever it is that we're sharing, right, to others.
Sinead, thank you so much. We got Sinead Whelehan here for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. ET contact. How does it happen? Why does it happen? Who is it happening to? It ain't me. Not anymore, at least. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. You're doing awesome tonight.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Hello, Tress from Scotland. Welcome. Dry Toast, thank you for that amazing super chat. I will post it in a little bit here. Really appreciate your love and support. Let's see who else has come in because I'm a little back. Hey, Super Duke at World Bigfoot Radio. I'm sorry I could not call you back tonight. I ran out of time, dude. I ran out of time, but thank you for the lovely phone call. Right there, buddy. Right there. You're class dude, man. Class dude. And everybody from our channel should be subscribed to yours. Stevie Franchise, thank you so much for the super chat. Really do appreciate the love, man. And I'm going to give a rundown quickly of everybody who's super chatted tonight. Thank you to Surf Jer, Vinman, Patrick, Ethereal Aura, Jason, Andrew, Mennonite Abe, Tim, Ed, Vashi Impaler, Dirt Road, R&R, Lori, Phil, Fapster, Dry Toast, the best name in YouTube, and Steve Franchise. Really appreciate the love, guys. Thank you so much. Majdi, how you doing tonight, man? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Cat Chaser, I love your continued support of us every time you're here. Thank you for the love. Really appreciate it. Who else has joined us here? Ted Bastian. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Skip to Malou. What's happening, buddy? Thank you for joining us. We're all caught up there. Thank you, Sinead.
Who are you going to have on for the panel, by the way, on the 31st?
I don't know yet. I've got some feelers out. It'll be a good one, though. 4 or 5 people.
Did he have a co-host?
No.
You would basically be the
he did a lot of work with Lon Strickler. And yeah. All right. Hey, Kaysen in Sri Lanka. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
How was your New Year's, by Dave?
It was good. It was good.
What did you do?
I bought party hats for the family. There was only 3 of us here at midnight. And I had a shot of Fireball. My son had a shot of root beer. And my partner had a shot of Fireball. No, we had martinis, actually. That's what it was.
Oh, that sounds nice. How old is your son?
He's 8. But he got to drink out of the fancy glasses.
Ooh, the non-plastic ones, right?
Yes. Amy Vegas, looking lovely tonight. Probably driving to work to the lovely Tuscany in Las Vegas. I make a mean martini, dirty filth. You can't even talk. You're a cat man. Okay, not that there's anything wrong with that, but most men, when they have a cat, they have a dog as well. And you got like 17 cats. You're a cat man.
I'm getting my 3rd cat on Saturday, and I'm delighted.
We got 3 cats.
They're the best. Just animals in general are the best.
Oh, wow. Aussie Ange, you will be very happy with my dinner tonight. I had some brie cheese with celery, carrots, cucumber, and cauliflower. That was my dinner.
all the
I
seeds.
had a very healthy dinner tonight.
That's excellent.
Very healthy dinner. Yes.
Very water-based, very fibrous.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be happy.
My body's loving it.
Good. Are you changing your diet like ongoing?
Oh,
Or is
yeah.
it
Yeah,
okay.
I'm trying to lose some weight here.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to
Whatever
look
makes
pretty
you
for Vegas. Trying to look pretty for Vegas. Salty Ken. Dinner for breakfast is allowed, but it depends on what the dinner is. Okay, so like for instance, you don't want to be eating shrimp for breakfast. You don't.
wrong.
You know, you
So wrong.
pizza is fine. You know,
Well,
potatoes are fine.
I had a breakfast sandwich for dinner last night and it was delicious.
It's terrible. Hold on. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this shows or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. ET Contact, how do we do it? Is it good for us? Is it healthy for humanity, much like celery and avocado? We don't know. Lots of mysteries we're talking about with Sinead Whelehan tonight on the show. Sinead, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Dave. And just a little helpful tidbit here. I believe it takes more calories to eat celery than you actually get from celery.
That's fine. I could lose those calories. I love celery. You know what I love? Celery and peanut butter.
That is pretty delicious with maybe a little raisin in there.
You could add some raisins if you want. I'm not that rebellious. All right. I'm a cautious celery peanut butter eater, but I love it. I love it.
Crunchy or smooth?
Right. Smooth. Don't like the
Okay.
crunchy.
Okay.
Always gets caught. Those peanuts in the crunchy peanut butter always get caught in your teeth. No matter what, they get caught in your teeth. It's like popcorn. That's why I don't eat popcorn. I like popcorn. Don't get me wrong. Love popcorn. You can't hate popcorn. But I can't eat popcorn because I'm tired of it getting caught in the back of the teeth. Then you're flossing for like hours and it never comes out.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. When it gets up under your fingers, it kind of hurts.
I actually had to take a dental trip for that one day.
Oh.
Yeah, that sucked. Couldn't get it out.
Oh.
Yeah, that hurt. Not fun. Not fun. Questions from our audience for you about ET Contact. From Jim in Saskatchewan. Everybody wave hi to Jim because it's so flat there, he'll be able to see it. All right. Jim is saying, what are the aliens saying when you communicate? What are their messages?
Well, they're, like I was mentioning earlier, there really are some common themes and patterns in what people receive, the information they receive. And a lot of it is really just about, the usual, like kindness and being more loving and more respectful, more kind, more accepting, less judgmental towards each other, to definitely take better care of the planet. The planet is an incredibly valuable, precious thing. We are lucky enough to live on it, and we do not take very good care of it. So, a lot of the messaging is about how if we don't get better at respecting the earth and treating it in a more balanced way, which part of the messaging I've received is that we really need to get back to understanding our symbiosis with nature, how we are not a separate entity from nature. Nature is not somewhere over there far away from us. We are nature. Nature is us. So we are very, very interconnected with nature, and we've sort of forgotten that. And it's really had a dramatic impact on the damage that we've been able to do to Earth because of that disconnection. So part of the message is to realize, that we are inherently connected to nature, that we are nature, and that animals, of course, and other living creatures are part of that. We need to be more aware of how we are all symbiotic in this experience of Earth together. And that it's not about humans dominating and humans just using whatever we get out of the earth and out of animals, right? It's more about having a holistic symbiotic understanding of how all of these different parts of our reality here and our experience on this planet are interconnected, and that every single thing has a place of importance and value. So that's a big part of the messaging. And also, getting better at listening. That seems to be a big one for me, listening, not just with our ears, listening in many other ways, being in silence, being still, meditation, whatever it is that helps you kind of quiet down, get a bit more centered and grounded, and being able to listen to, I'm not even going to define that, because what I've found is that when I have just let myself be quiet and listen, meaning be receptive, I never really know what I'm going to get. I don't have an expectation when I do that. And I think that, anyone I know who's taken the opportunity to slow their life down, their pace of life down, and spend more time with themselves and being still and being quiet, have experienced a greater sense of awareness, a greater sense of sensitivity, of connectivity to themselves and everything else around them. So that's part of the messaging I believe we're getting is, get connected, get more connected in whatever way that you can, to yourself, to others around you, to animals, to nature, to the more sort of quiet things about life and the more sort of central fundamental things about life that actually feed us, as opposed to all these distracting things around us that keep our attention away from meaning and from real, genuine connection with anything or anyone. So, part of it is very much about that, because when we're connected, then we can come more from a place of conscious awareness, our actual deliberate consciousness, the thinking, aware, observant part of us is more activated, and our heart consciousness is more activated because we start to care more, right? So that's a very big part of it. And so all of these things really are interconnected, right? It's not just about caring about the planet. If you start to care about the planet, then your caring starts to translate into other things as well. And also that they're not here to hurt us, over and over and over again. We're here to help you, and we're here to support. We believe this is a very important time in your evolution. We want to support that. We want to help you gain a better understanding of your actual real nature. You're not meant to just sort of bump your way through life, paying bills and driving a car and then die. Like, there's so much more to being alive. And reality is not what we think it is, and they're here to help us with that.
All right. I'm going to rephrase a question from Brazelhoff, make it a little bit more understanding for you. Are you a hybrid mother as well?
Am I to say that again?
A hybrid mother as well?
I don't believe I am. No, I don't think I am. That has not been my experience.
Okay, moving on here. Stephanie wants to know, did the gray alien skin you saw, what did it look like?
Well, I didn't see the way that they showed up. The way this being showed up was as a sort of misty, foggy kind of material. And it was just like a clear outline of a body. I mean, I clearly saw a head, neck, shoulders, arms, the torso, the legs and feet, but I couldn't see like eyes and skin and teeth. It was more like the shape of the being and the stance. And I saw like movement, I saw the body moving a little bit. So that's the best that I can do to describe them. I can't say what the skin was like. I'm sorry.
Digger Dog wants to know, are some of the ETs masquerading as humans?
Well, the word masquerading, I'm just going to touch on that word just for a minute, because when you say someone's masquerading, it's as if they're deliberately hiding themselves for a nefarious purpose. So are they doing that are they here among us on Earth? I believe, yes, they are. I think that they've been around for a very, very, very long time. And I think that they can come and go pretty much as they please. And I don't think they need to disguise themselves as being human. I think sometimes they do, excuse me. But I don't think they need to, because they understand that reality is much multidimensional, and that energy and vibration and light behave in a certain way that allow them to change perception. So I think they're able to let themselves be seen and unseen as they choose. So are they around in human form? I think it's quite possible. Do I have a definitive answer of that? No, I do not. But I don't think we can make any assumptions about what their intentions are. I can only speak from my experience that it's good.
All right, let's go to Sri Lanka, where Kaysen is asking, overall, are ETs benevolent, hostile, or neutral?
My personal perspective, again, my experience has been that it's only been positive, only been generous, nurturing, supportive, amazing guidance. It's been amazing for me personally, right? That's been my experience. In my research, there is a suggestion that, and I think this is very reasonable to consider, that, we can only create ideas of what we think that they're like. Very few people have had ongoing relationships with ETs where they can really clearly talk about what that being looks like, how they behave, what their culture is like. I think that it's reasonable to assume that there are huge numbers of extraterrestrial civilizations, races, however you want to use, whatever words you want to use to group them together out there in the universe. I think there's innumerable kinds and types of those beings. And so it would make sense to me that their temperament, their thinking, their behavior, their personalities are going to be as varied also. So I don't think we can say they're all bad or they're all good. I think that it's very possible that they are as varied in temperament and mindset as we are. Human beings, we can't make one statement about all human beings being a certain way, right? We have huge variation in our personalities, our perspectives, our experiences, our worldviews, all kinds of things. So it makes sense to me that they would be like that as well. And so that partially for me explains why some people have only positive experiences, some people have only negative experiences, and there's some that are in between. Because why wouldn't it be like that if they are as varied as we are? And I think they might be. I hope that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Let's get to Brandy's question. Sinead, do you have any tips for understanding their messages better?
I do. Ask for validation. Ask for validation. Ask for validation. And also keep records of what you think you're experiencing. That's another way that you can kind of analyze what's going on and also remain a bit skeptical. Keep an objective perspective as much as you can about what's going on. So if you document what you think is happening, no matter how crazy or strange you might think that it is, it could be a sign you see on the street, could be a tarot card read, could be whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. If it gives you that feeling that, oh, this isn't just the usual, there's something different about this. I might be getting a message or there's something about this, that I'm supposed to take in. Write it down. Just document it, even if it's point form. And then over time, you should start to see patterns. And those patterns will help you figure out what a message could be or what direction or guidance you could be receiving. I think that's part of it. And just have a practice of being as receptive as you can be. Really allow yourself to practice other ways of using your mind and using your perception and using your energy. Do little experiments, because all that playing around and that experimenting makes you more receptive. And the more receptive you are, the more able you're going to be to receive messages. Yeah. So ask, document, and practice and play. Those would be my 3 main tips.
All right, let's continue on. Nicole is wondering, how do they communicate with you? Is it in English or telepathic connection?
I love that question. So the way that it's always happened since I was a kid is that it's energy. It's just energy. And this is hard to explain. It's not it's not English. It's not words in English. It's a language, definitely a language, because there's full messages that I receive. And, I had a whole bunch of, for example, downloads between the age of 9, I'm pretty sure it was age 9 and 11, a whole bunch of really, really, really huge downloads. And these are not things that 9-year-olds are normally thinking about or exposed to, right? So that didn't really make sense to me, that I was sort of somehow receiving these massive ideas that just seemed to be, jumping from something I had previously thought that was more within the realm of my normal everyday experience. And then suddenly I'm entertaining this really huge idea, and there's a particular feeling that comes with it. So I don't know if that's helpful. Maybe you can rephrase the question again, and I'll continue answering it.
All right. Jim would like to know, would you share your consciousness with another if it was symbiotic rather than parasitic?
Would I share my consciousness with another? Well, the experience I had in August was a little bit like that. It was an energy merge experience. I've never had anything like that before. It was pretty massive. And it was like that being the one that materialized in front of me, the same one I mentioned a minute ago. It was like they were merging sort of with me, like their energy field and my energy field became completely entwined. And that's how they were communicating what they were communicating to me. And so that's similar to the question before this one as to how I receive the messages. It's energy language. It's a full language. It's full thoughts. It's full ideas. It's full, guidance, but it's not in any language we would know here. And I think that's probably because it's too limiting. But when it arrives in the form of energy, I just understand it. I don't know how. And so that experience that I had with the energy merge felt kind of like that. It felt a bit like a few hours of shared consciousness. I just knew I knew what the being was thinking, and I knew that it knew what I was thinking. And it was just blasting me with this massive amount of energy, but it felt like a shared experience. Like it was sharing itself with me. It was sharing the energy and the vibration of itself with me. I don't know how to explain that better, but that's the closest thing I can say to answer your question.
All right. I want to ask you, before I get to the next question here, regarding the contact, do you have a lot of physical contact where you're literally seeing the being standing right in front of you that you could reach out and touch them?
No, I'm not. That they've only just started showing up. So I had the being materialize in front of me. And then again, later on in my room, I had a being standing beside me that was caught on photograph. That's the closest in terms of physical contact I've had with them. But I know when they're around. Like it's also kind of hard to explain. It's just a particular feeling. There's a particular feeling that I get when I know that they're there. And there's a particular feeling. It's very distinctive and it's very recognizable, this feeling, this energetic experience, when I'm getting a message or when I'm having an experience or when I know that they're there. It's always the same.
Okay, let's move on here. Apollo 11 is wondering, where does God fit into this picture for you?
Oh, that's a great question. So I do personally not believe in God in the traditional old white guy in the sky kind of way. I think that God is really a projection of us. I think that God is our unclaimed power. That's what I think. I think that all of us has God inside of us, which the Bible does say, right? If anybody's religious, it does say that God is in all of us. And I really think that is true. I think that whatever we come from, whatever is the source of our being here and being alive, I guess, existing, it is a source energy. I really do think that. I think of it as universal consciousness and universal sort of gigantic knowing, right? And that all of us are of that. And so we are part of that and we carry that in ourselves. And I personally feel like it's partly our job to try to get back to that and to nurture that more and more and more in every lifetime. So I think God is, really, you can call it God if you want. Like, I think the words are very, very not important. It's more the understanding, right? Like, who cares if it's God or if it's Allah or if it's universal consciousness? Three people who use those three different terms can have a totally cooperative conversation because really, you're all saying inherently the same thing, right? That God is us, we are God. God is in all of us, and it is the best, most powerful, wisest part of us. And I think that it's the part that's connected to the everything, the universe, the universal consciousness. So for me, that is God.
I have to be a jerk here before I get to the next question.
Sure.
God's not a white guy. He's just a deity. Just so you know. All right, Nicola's asking, why do you think some people in this field are pushing a threat narrative?
Oh boy. Well, I think there's a lot of different ways to answer that question. I think that some people in the field are into the threat narrative because, frankly, it gets them attention. And a lot of people are drawn to that narrative because it's dramatic and it's exciting and it's, it's what we're used to. We're used to drama and fear. And, that is such a big part of the sort of common messaging that we receive, whether it's through advertising, whether it's through public education. Sometimes I've been a public education teacher for 15 years, and I do not see the system the same way that I did when I first started. We receive messaging from parents, we receive messaging from influential people in our life, from leaders, that is more fear-based than we realize, so it's a very common way of thinking and being in our culture, I think. And sometimes it becomes so inherent that we don't actually realize how often we're doing it. So often I think that the people who are pushing a fear narrative don't even realize that they're pushing a fear narrative. They're doing it because they really genuinely think that they need to protect people or warn them. They could be coming from a place of really positive intention. But we really are taught so thoroughly to be scared, like to be afraid, to have fear, anxiety, apprehension about the unknown, about each other, about, this is why racism exists, right? This is why we're scared of animals. And we think that when we see one, we have to immediately shoot it. This is all, we're so thoroughly ingrained to not stop and think, but to just react with fear to protect ourselves. And to me, that's a kind of a really base reptilian way of walking through life. Like, I'd rather not live like that. That's just me. And I found that that's really served me. So I think some people are doing it unknowingly. I think some people are doing it because they know that's what sells, frankly. I think that, our media does that, right? I think that sometimes it's for control. I think there's lots of reasons, but the vast majority of people, I think, don't really realize that they're doing it. Like, we really are so thoroughly conditioned to live in that state that eventually you can't see the forest for the trees, kind of thing.
All right, we've got 3 minutes left with Sinead Whelehan tonight. Kaysen is wondering, is Prime Directive a thing or a made-up concept?
Okay, well, I hear different definitions of Prime Directive. So I'd like a little bit more information on what that could possibly mean. What would you interpret it as being, Dave?
I do not know.
Okay, maybe we can come back to that question if that's okay.
We'll see if there's one more here. Let me see if there is one more here for us. Nicole is wondering, have you ever been on their ships?
Yes, I have. It was very brief. The one that I know for sure, I was awake. I was awake and present, and it wasn't nighttime. I wasn't in my bed. I wasn't dreaming. That was pretty insane. That was in Peru in 2017. That for sure, I was inside a UFO, but that was pretty brief. It was meant as an invitation. It was kind of like a teaser. But then I also had an experience I don't really feel able to talk about because I'm pretty sure I was on a ship, but I haven't actually talked about this to literally anybody yet because I'm still sort of digesting it and trying to piece together what actually happened. So on that second one, I'm going to say maybe.
Awesome. Sinead, we got 90 seconds left with you, and I'd like to say thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. And you are so knowledgeable and so up to date on what you are doing. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you, Dave, for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And it's been great to be here to, make you smile a little bit and distract you on a sad day. So I'm glad to be here for that too.
It has been a hard day, and you know what? I needed a familiar voice. So the fact that you filled in showed me some love. Showed me some serious love. And where can people find your research?
Well, I'm actually starting a new enterprise with a friend of mine. It's called Star Family Wisdom, and we're going to be doing a lot of different things with that brand. We're also going to be starting a podcast. So I would say stay tuned. I will send you the information. Maybe you can do something with it, Dave. We're not fully formed and up and running yet, but we hope to be launching our first episode in mid-February at the very latest. So I'll be advertising that online. I'll be asking friends who have networks that reach out to people to help me advertise it. And fortunately, this is a wonderfully supportive community. So I feel good about being able to spread the word about that.
Very nice. Very nice. Sinead, it's always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. Very much appreciate you taking time for our audience. Thank you so much. Coming up next, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? We are going to go to our resident swamp dweller. Take us into the spooky stories about demons tonight. And we're going to pay tribute to the legend after we lost Butch Witkowski earlier today. Spaced Out Radio continues with Hour 3 next. We're clear. Good job, Sinead.
Thank you. I felt like I was a little bit rambly, but hopefully not too much.
You were perfect tonight.
Great.
Perfect. Thank
Great.
you. Thank you, Apollo, for the super chat. Really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you so much. Mr. Lee 3PO, welcome. And Zenzabil, welcome back. And Amber's Gorgeous Paraworld, how are you? Welcome back. Yeah, thanks for a great show, Sinead. I really needed a familiar voice tonight.
No problem. Anytime, bud. Anytime at all. Big hugs from all the way over here.
Maybe we'll see you in Vegas.
I would love that. I would love that.
Get your butt there. We need you there.
Okay. All righty. Night, night. Good night, everyone.
We need you and Nicole Sackich. You and Nicole Sackich to literally blow things up there for us.
Nicole and I are long overdue for a one-on-one hangout anyway, so that would serve it perfectly.
You are.
Yep.
Yeah, you are.
Yep.
Let's do it. All right. See you, Sinead.
Yes, thank you so much. Bye, Dave. Bye, everybody.
Good night. Take care. Oh, great show. I needed that. Amber's Paraworld, best way to go is April 22nd to 24th. This is what you need to do. Just say you're coming. And when you are 100% confirmed that you are going, email us here so we can get a swag bag ready for you. Tewaz, how are you? Thank you for the love. And a big thank you to everybody. We got like 19 people signed up for Vegas so far. We need Nicole Sackich there. We definitely need Nicole Sackich there. Yes, we do. All right. And it's looking closer that we are going to have a live show there. Looks like it will be at the Golden Nugget and in the old strip. And we may have to edit our plans a little bit, so that way we can all hang out at the Nugget. I'm going to bring in some friends. I'm trying to get Varla Ventura there. I know that I talked to, who did I talk to today about it? Goodness. I'm going to get some more people that I know in Vegas who've been on this show to come speak to us. Gorgeous Gloria, are you and your mother coming? I know Dirty Filth is coming. Our good friend Brad from Texas is coming. Jeffrey DeRuin from the chat room, I believe, is coming. Gorgeous Teresa is coming. We got Mennonite Abe showing up. UFO Garage guys. Sonny from Chop Shop should be there. Maybe some John Hudson. Maybe some Gemma Jade. Lynn Wallington's going to be there, along with Dave Effin Hurley. They do have a mask mandate in Las Vegas. Whether we agree with it or not, at least we could party. I'm trying to get Geraldine to the Vegas party. She may show up. I'm going to see about Melinda Leslie. I'm going to have a few others up my sleeve that are going to be there. Science Bob may come. I think he's coming. Who else? Who the hell else was I talking to that said they were going to be there? God, I gotta start writing shit down. It's gonna be a good time, people. I think Gorgeous Kira is going to come. I have a list here of who has confirmed so far. Let's see here. Mennonite Abe, race fan, and his wife, Teresa, Chuck G, Terry, Amy Vegas O, Elizabeth, E. Niles, and I believe his wife. Paradigm Theories, Kim, Heidi, and Chris are going to be there. Jamie and Matt are going to be there. Marlena and James are going to be there. Obi Flett is going to be there. Brad from Texas is going to be there. We're going to have a good time, peeps. We're going to have a very good time. Very good time. Thank you, Amy, for clearing that up because she lives in Vegas and works on the Strip. Yes, Vegas mask managed, but if you're smoking, eating, or drinking, you do not need to wear a mask. That is good enough for me. Fapster, the only way you're bringing 3 is one lobe of your head, the other lobe of your head, and the middle of your head. Well, we got a bunch of people coming. It's going to be fun. We'll do the live show. Okay, just off the Strip by like 2 blocks. Close enough. 2 blocks. At the lovely Tuscany. Yes, you can, Dirty Filth. Yes, you can. Big thank you today to Surf Chair, Vin Man, Patrick, Ethereal Aura, Jason, Andrew, Mennonite Abe, Double Tim, Ed, Vash the Impaler, Dirt Road, R&R, Lori, Phil, Fapster, Dry Toast, Steve, Cat Chaser, Smelly, and Apollo for the amazing super chats. We'd really appreciate it.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are in this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Butch. The crankiest of all Butches. Butch is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We got a great feature around here that we call The Swamp, as our resident swamp dweller comes in nightly, taking us down the dark, dingy roads in a segment we call The Swamp.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. Greetings, Swamp Dweller. My name is Patrick. First off, I'd like to say that I love your show. I started listening and watching just a few weeks ago, while I was at work. I absolutely fell in love, and I thought I should share a story that has plagued my mind for years about the time I saw something unnatural, vicious, and thirsty for blood. Personally, I think it was a demon, but I'll let you and the viewers or listeners, whatever you want to call them, decide. I'd like to apologize for the length of this story, as there is a lot of detail that follows what happened. Everything in this story is true. I wish it wasn't, but unfortunately, I must live with it for the rest of my life. This story takes place when I was 17 years old as a junior in high school in Salina, Utah. I only had 2 friends in high school because everyone I went to school with thought I was a freak because I have been able to see and communicate with spirits since I was a child. It's a small town, and everybody hears everything. My 2 friends, Logan and Ryan, and I were very avid paranormal investigators. We loved going all over our community and our county in general to investigate abandoned houses that were potentially haunted, and cemeteries rumored to be. Me being able to see and communicate with the dearly departed made the experience even more interesting. We decided to do something a little bit different this time, though. We heard rumors that there was a dark figure that roams a wooded park in the mountains of our area. We like to call the mountain Cryptid Mountain, for reasons I'll get into for another story. When we heard about this place, the 3 of us got excited and waited for the weekend so we could go investigate and see what was going on. Fast forward to the day of the event. Saturday came, and the 3 of us could not wait for nightfall to come. So, to pass the time, Ryan stole a pack of cigarettes from his father. His father smoked 3 packs a day and kept cartons of cigarettes in his room. We got in Logan's truck and headed to the park ahead of time to smoke them. You know, kid stuff. We sat in his truck and smoked almost half a pack at about 5 hours. As soon as the sun started to set, Logan started to get a strange feeling. He bent over, holding his stomach. "Guys, I have a really bad feeling about tonight," Logan stated. "Are you okay, man?" I asked as a concerned friend, patting his back. "He's fine, just being a pussy," Ryan replied before Logan could speak. Ryan was always a hothead and could be a complete and total jerk at times. Logan flipped him off and told him he was a dick, which I giggled at. After about 10 minutes, I asked Logan if he was ready to go and if he still wanted to do this. He replied with, "Let's do it, brother." His attitude surprised me. Just 2 minutes ago, he was holding his stomach in pain. Now, he's hyped up. I was so confused, but his hype got me excited. We got out of Logan's truck and made our way to the destination. As we walked closer to the playground, we noticed that there was a man looking at us from a window of the supply shed. The 3 of us looked at each other in confusion, wondering why he was there. We later learned he was the groundskeeper, but more on that later. He looked scared, and it seemed like he was trying to tell us something while he mouthed something and pointed nervously. At first, we thought he was pointing at us, but we soon realized that he was pointing at the playground behind us moments later. Why doesn't he just open the door and tell us? I thought. So I decided I would go and see what he was trying to say. I made my way towards the window and shouted, "We can't hear you! What are you trying to say?" He made his way to the door and cracked it open and whispered, "Don't go into the playground. Something big and mean is over there. If you're smart, you'll just get out of here." Chills ran down my spine when he said this. He closed the door and backed away from the window into the dark of his shed, not breaking eye contact with the playground. I ran back to my friends and explained to them what the man had said to me. Logan got that feeling again, but Ryan expressed that the groundskeeper was probably just some sort of drug addict or something, and was probably just a big pussy like Logan and I. I told Ryan to shut up jokingly, and we made our way to the playground. Ignoring the warning from the frightened man, as soon as I set foot on the round pebble floor of the playground, I instantly felt, I don't know, angry. I wanted to hurt someone. I wanted to hurt my friends. I wanted to kill them. I shook my head to focus on the task at hand and made my way to the tubed slide, forgetting that feeling. I made my way to the slide and investigated the bottom of the slide and saw nothing, but I could feel that there was something in this area. I looked back at my friends. Logan was combing the area for any evidence, and Ryan was on top of the playset. I stood back up and took one step from the slide. Then, something tripped me. It felt like someone had physically grabbed me by the ankle and pulled me to the ground. When I hit the ground, I let out a loud, "What the hell?" Logan ran over to me in a panic. "Patrick, are you—" He froze in mid-sentence as he looked up at the slide. I looked up at him and asked, "What's wrong?" He just pointed to the slide, jaw dropped and eyes filled with fear. I turned around and saw what he saw. It was a big, shadowed figure staring back at us. It let out a slow, snarled growl. I noticed its hands receding back into the shadows on the slide and saw that it was, like, wet and pitch black. These long claws were like fingernails almost. I freaked out and kicked away from the slide, trying to get to my feet. At last, when I got to my feet with Logan's help, I turned to Ryan and shouted for him to get off the playset. Ryan looked at the two of us and saw the fear in our faces. Then he saw something crawling up the slide. He didn't stay to find out what it was. Instead, he jumped from the highest point of the playset to the pebbled floor below. When he landed, Logan and I heard a loud crack from Ryan's foot. Later, we found out that he broke his ankle in 2 places when he hit the ground. Logan and I picked him up and ran back to the truck. The anger feeling I felt earlier was back as soon as I set Ryan in the truck. I grabbed Logan's baseball bat from the bed of the truck and made my way back to the playground. I know now that this was a stupid decision. Logan and Ryan yelled and cried for me to come back, but I didn't listen. I got back to the slide and searched for whatever it was that scared the living daylight out of us. It wasn't in the slide anymore, nor was it even on the playground. I searched for what felt like an hour, but was only a few short seconds. I looked over at the groundskeeper's shed and saw the door was open. I made my way over in a fury, thinking I was going to mess this thing up. When I got to the shed, the rage inside me left. My body was replaced with confusion yet again. The groundskeeper was gone, as if he was never there in the first place. I looked inside, but didn't see anything out of the ordinary. I looked back at my friends in the truck to see them waiting in suspense. I felt as if something was breathing on my neck and froze in place like Logan did earlier. In fear, I slowly turned around to see something that will forever be etched into my mind. When I turned around, a shadowed face with piercing yellow bloodshot eyes stared back at me, snarling at me with this decayed and jagged-looking smile, drooling some nasty yellow liquid. I was in a state of paralysis. I couldn't move at all. Then, this thing let out a roar so ferocious it brought me back to my senses. I dropped the bat and ran back to the truck as fast as my feet could take me. I got to the truck, I hurried and jumped in and told Logan to get the hell out of there. After I got my breath back and Logan began to drive, I looked at both him and Ryan, and their faces were pale. I asked them what was wrong. This is what Ryan told me. "Dude, when you were running back to the truck, something tall, thin, and black was running behind you, reaching out for you." I was speechless. To this day, I wonder what would have happened if it had caught me. Out of all the craziness and fear, we had Logan take Ryan to the ER. After the hospital visit and Ryan's extremely angry dad, we all went home. The next morning, Logan called me and asked if I went back to the park. I said no. Why? Confused. Because this morning I was getting ready for my early morning run, and when I opened my front door, my bat was sitting on my porch with scratch marks all over it. My heart dropped. I remembered dropping his bat at the park by the shed. I never went back to get it. What Logan said next still haunts me. It had this yellow stuff dripping from it. Later, we found out that the groundskeeper we thought we saw that night died of a massive heart attack in that same shed 10 years prior to our investigation. I know this because we did some digging and we found an article and an obituary. 2 years later, I learned the shed was torn down by the city for safety reasons, and they will not disclose why to the public, though. I'd love to read some comments as to what you guys think this was. Thank you for reading my story, Swamp Dweller. When I have the time, I'll share some more tales from Cryptid Mountain.
All right, we say thank you to the man, the myth, and the legend, Swamp Dweller. You can go on YouTube. He just passed 250,000 subscribers. Good for him. Good for him. A great night of radio right there when we add in the Swamp Dweller. Okay, let's get to it here. We had a very, very emotional day today. As many of you know, Butch Witkowski from Strange Days that we do on the final week of each month over the last couple of years has been dealing with some health issues. And Butch passed away this morning at the age of 74. I found out just after 9 a.m. Pacific time, and it was very, very interesting as to what was happening. I was sitting in the lineup of Tim Hortons when all of a sudden Lon Strickler and Brian Bowden, two people who I highly respect in this field, sent me messages saying that we lost Butch. After talking to Lon today on the phone, found out that Butch last night wasn't feeling very good. He went to bed with his wife, woke up in the middle of the night saying he wasn't feeling good. His wife asked to take him to the hospital, and being the cranky curmudgeon that he is, with all due respect, said, no, we'll go in the morning, hun. And he never made it. He never woke back up. Butch has been with Spaced Out Radio for about 6.5 years as a monthly feature. And I've learned so much off of him. He was like a true father figure to me in this field. A couple of years ago, he had a massive heart attack, had to have major bypass surgery. And for 9 months, we didn't know if he was going to be able to come back. We didn't know. But he came back, and one of the biggest things that he said on that show when he returned after his heart attack was that he really missed Spaced Out Radio. He missed me as a host, but most importantly, he missed our fans and the amount of listeners that helped him out over the years. When he had his heart attack, many of our listeners reached out privately on social media and via email to Butch to wish him thoughts and prayers and strength to get healthy again. So did I. And today it hit me like losing a father, because he's actually been like a father to me in this field. And to many, not just me, but to many, to Brian Bowden, to the Crypto Guru, to Eric Altman, to Sean Forker, and many others. We lost a legend. He was an ex-police officer. He loved his wife, Peggy, and their one son. They only had one child, and his grandchildren, and his 2 dogs. That was his life, besides chasing cryptids and monsters the last couple of decades. Butch was always a tell it as he sees it kind of guy. If he loved you, he loved you. He always said every night after he signed off the air with us, he would say, call me if you need bail money. And I always laughed at that. He was a good man. I could go to him with any type of question about life, about cryptids, about monsters. His opinion was as important to me as very few others in this field. I put Butch in the category of people I respect, along with David Weatherly, whom I had a chance to chat with today, Grant Cameron, and of the Lon Strickler, who's a good friend, just on this show a couple nights ago. People who I love in this field. The one thing I loved about Butch is he was always tough. He didn't care that he was 74 years old, but if if one of his critics was mouthing him off to his face, he's like, dude, I'll still punch you out. That's what I loved about him. The good news is, if you're a believer in the afterlife like I am, he got the answers. He finally got to see the bipedal canine that he'd been chasing for the last 5 years or so. He finally got to see all the UFOs, all the aliens, all the ghosts, all the portals, all the stairways in the middle of the forest, all the gnomes, the gargoyles, the Sasquatch, the Dogman. He's got it all. Now, I know in respect to Butch that if he heard me saying all this, and I think he is listening down, and if he could, he'd probably throw a shoe at me. But I remember after his heart attack, even up till recently, he said, you know, what I would do for a cigarette and a glass of booze. He never used the term booze. That's just what came out of my mouth. He had to give them both up. Two of his favorite loves and habits after his heart attack. His wife made sure of that. But I'm going to miss him. I had thought earlier on today about doing a tribute show tonight. But in a weird irony, I thought, you know, I can't do that. Not today. 2 reasons. Number one, the last time we had Sinead Whelehan booked on this show, I had to cancel her interview because Harry Reid had passed away. And we had to do a panel about that on UFOs and Harry Reid. And I couldn't do that twice to her. But number two, and most importantly, at the end of each month, we end it with Butch. And I really, really didn't want to book another guest for that day. I really didn't. It just doesn't feel right. He's family, and we love him. Now, with some of your super chats earlier today, what I did was I ordered flowers for the family of Butch on behalf of all of us at Spaced Out Radio and all of our listeners. I didn't know what else to do. I thought it was a nice gesture. I'm sure you'll agree. Just going to be hard. So the other thing I had to think about today was, what do I do with strange days? Because that's Butch's show. I want to keep it going. I just have to find the right person to fill those very, very big shoes that are going to be empty. And it may take a while. It may take some different people. I don't know. But I know you guys out there in Radio Land loved it when Butch was on the air with us. You loved it when he told his stories. But most of all, you loved it when he got cranky with us. And when something fired him up. And I always remember every show that we talked right before we went on air, I would say to him, I'm going to fire you up tonight. And he'd be like, you know, you're a real sicko, Dave. Just a real sicko. What a jerk you are. I said, but you love it. He goes, yeah, I do. And then he would laugh. He loved being a part of Spaced Out Radio. He loved being here with all of you. And every one of our listeners was very important to him. And the way you supported him was second to none. Thank you, Butch Witkowski, for helping put Spaced Out Radio on the map. And as long as this show goes on, we will be forever grateful to you. Godspeed, Butch. And we love you. Mike L., how you doing? Lovely Lavira, nice to see you. Sparkles, thank you. Witchy, how you doing? Justin Maynard, good afternoon to you, mate. Bobby Chizzy, thank you for joining us. John Music, thank you for that lovely super chat, man. Really appreciate it. Third Phase, how you guys doing? Thank you for the phone call earlier today, guys. Really appreciate you too. I'll call you guys after the show. I totally forgot about my thought of the Dave today. Or not my thought of the Dave 101. Didn't even realize it was Thursday. In fact, I didn't even realize that it was on tonight. Wow. I'm going to make something up right off the top of my head going into this one. Tomorrow night on the show, our guest had to cancel. We were supposed to have Robin McCrae on to talk about Sasquatch. However, she's having a little bit of health issues, not feeling very good. So I'm going to have a guest announcement tomorrow. I got to find somebody. It'll be a quick turnaround. We've been trying to get Les Stroud. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again for Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
All right, it is time once again to give an opinion. Whether it matters or not, I don't really know. But you know, one thing that I got into is earlier today, I was interviewed by a good friend of mine, Mark Petroni from Saga 960 AM, one of the radio stations that broadcasts our show on a nightly basis out of Mississauga, Ontario. And we were talking about Bigfoot, evidence, what we need to do. Because one of the big things and one of the big arguments that we see time and time again is about people's experiences, about proof, what is proof, what should be proof, what can be proof, and what not. We see it in the paranormal realm, talking with Jacob Rice earlier this week. How can technology help us out in solving some of these mysteries? One of the issues that we have in this field is we don't have any answers. One of the most suspect things anybody can title themselves as in this field is an expert. There are no experts. You can't have experts if you don't have answers or conclusions. It's kind of hard to have both at the same time. We don't know what Sasquatch is. We don't know what Dogman is. We don't know why people are seeing Thunderbirds. We don't know why people are seeing trolls under bridges or witches flying on brooms in the sky or anything cryptid and odd. There is no proof that it exists. What we do have is anecdotal evidence for the most part. But the other thing we don't have is proof to deny the existence of the creatures. I know what I've seen. People out there listening to this show know what they've seen. Whether it's lights in the sky or a shadow walking down their hallway in their house. It really doesn't matter. We know what we saw. But here's the thing when it comes to experts, when it comes to those who think they are in the know, they are people who are trying to pull the wool over your eyes. And there's a lot of it in these fields, and it needs to stop. We never take the evidence that we want to have and that we ask to have as seriously as we should. We're sick of anecdotal stories, but for some reason, when somebody brings a video out or photographic evidence, it's not good enough. When are we going to be satisfied as people who are trying to search for what is happening in the phenomena? This isn't a shot at those who are investigating. Not at all. But you can't solve mysteries if you are pushing opinion. Take the BFRO. You've heard me say it before. When they are caught red-handed taking reports from people and either editing them because there's woo involved, or not posting them because they don't want to be embarrassed by the woo, we have an issue. There's nothing scientific about opinion. If we want to solve these issues, these mysteries, we shouldn't have to wait for death in order to get the answers if there's an afterlife. If. We all hope there is. So what do we really want as a field? Well, we get people who start off podcasts to get answers. That's what we did. Many are like us. We get people who are writing blogs, creating YouTube channels, just so we can state our opinion because we feel our voices have been muffled. And it's a way for us to get out there and open ourselves up to trying to solve some mysteries on a selfish level for ourselves. Take ghost hunting. Every year in North America alone, never mind the world, there's about 50,000 ghost hunters running around chasing spirits. Haunted buildings, haunted cemeteries, haunted trails, haunted houses. The majority of them do not even know what they're looking for. They're just hoping for some sort of communication. They're just hoping that they catch that weird photo, that weird video, or that strange voice on an EVP. What does that solve? We don't know if that solves life after death. We don't know if that solves the idea that we are multidimensional beings and we've crossed planes with communication. We don't know. There are too many questions to answer. Majority of them will never be answered in our lifetime. And I'm pretty sure that some of them we're not supposed to know the answers to those questions. But it's sure fun trying. Because that's what we do. We've had experiences, or we have curiosity, or we have a combination of both that leads us down this path. And we want to be able to be that person who says, I think I know what's going on. I think I understand. It gives us a little bit of a center of attention. And through all the people who are investigating, the real scientists, the real journalists, the real investigators, the fake journalists, the fake scientists, and the fake investigators, we all have one common love. And that is the love of these topics. Some of us do it to get spooked out. Some of us do it because we need to know. And some of us, like David Weatherly or Butch Witkowski, had dedicated their lives to this. We all deserve the right to know the answers to our questions. And I think it's great that we just don't settle for I don't know. Even when I don't know is the only true answer to give. Because I will tell you, it's a lot of fun going out in the forest searching for Sasquatch. It's a lot of fun sitting in chairs under a starry sky that's not bled over by city lights and looking for aerial phenomena. It is absolutely wonderful to be in a darkened museum in the middle of the evening trying to communicate with ghosts. If you're a thrill seeker, For me, I don't think there is anything better for us to be doing. I really don't. It's a different kind of thrill. It's not bungee jumping or jumping out of airplanes or swimming with sharks that can eat you in one bite like they would with me. No, it's the thrill of chasing the unknown. We should be happy to be having this hobby. We should be collectively eager to help each other out to see what your evidence is. Instead of the backstabbing and the conniving that we see on a nightly basis, here we are wondering, what are those answers? Here we are wondering if we'll ever get the answers. If we teamed up, there is enough brilliant people in this field in order to help push us to those answers. But we don't want to do that. Conflict of interest, conflict of opinion, attitudes, egos, you name it. That's what we see on a daily basis. Social media gatherings, sabotaging people behind the scenes so that way they can't get into locations to research. It's a sad, sad state of affairs when you pull the covers off this field. And for what? We all have the same goals. We all have the same wants, the same needs, and the same desires to solve those mysteries. And unfortunately, this is something we can't do alone. It's got to be more than the scientific side. It's got to be more than the spiritual side or the First Nations side or the weekend warrior investigator side. That's the part I'm part of, the weekend warrior side. It's got to be more. We, as researchers, bloggers, vloggers, radio hosts, we need to ask for more from these investigators. More stories, more evidence, more video footage, more photographs, more audio, and more personal encounters, which should mean just as much, especially when it comes to UFO world. You may not like anecdotal evidence. It may not be exactly what you want because, let's face it, we're humans and we are going to err in our ways. And we are going to misremember our stories. But that's okay. In between those words, there are always clues for us to be able to solve the mysteries that we are trying to chase down. We need to be able to do that. We need to be able to move this ball forward for the sake of those who spent their lifetime doing this and are no longer here, and those who are just getting into the field, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, looking to find them aliens, or that Sasquatch, or that Dogman. But on the flip side, as investigators, we need focus. We need to focus on what we are trying to solve. Not opinion, focus. What are our goals? What are we trying to conclude here? It's like a grade 8 science experiment that we got to go back in time and relearn how to do. Because if we don't, we're not following anything. We're just following the path that leads to nowhere and hoping for different results. That is the definition of insanity. But then again, maybe we all have to be a little insane to do this hobby that we call chasing the phenomena. That is your Dave 101 for this week. Do me a favor, leave a comment below if you're going to be watching this on YouTube, and let me know what you think. I'm going to be very curious. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news. All right, Shirky Poo's got us all taken care of for the night. Why wouldn't she? That's why she is our great news lady. Here's a weird one out of Michigan. An exchange between a judge and a 72-year-old man with cancer has gone viral after social media users were shocked to hear the elderly man being berated for the state of his yard in suburban Detroit. Burhan Chowdhury could be seen struggling to breathe as he attended his recent Michigan State court appearance over Zoom, explaining to the judge that he was weak and he had been unable to clear up overgrown grass at his property. But 31st District Judge Alexis G. Crott simply told the defendant that the state of the walkway was totally inappropriate and that he should be ashamed of himself. The online court hearing was shown a photo of his home's exterior. Now, Chowdhury of Hamtramck, Michigan, explained, "I am a cancer patient, very old, ma'am, and I am a cancer patient and was then very weak." He added that he could simply not take care of the space, at which point Crott replied, "You should be ashamed of yourself. If I could give you jail time on this, I would." Instead, she issued Chowdhury a $100 fine. She added, "You've got to get that cleaned up. That is totally inappropriate." The man's son, Shabir, who attended the Zoom meeting with his father, then spoke up on behalf of his dad, as a good son should, not only reiterating the ill health that had stopped the grass from being cleared away, but also explaining that the property had already been tidied. He said, "My father is currently sick, and we cleaned it up." Crott continued, "Do you see that photo? That is shameful. Shameful. The neighbors should not have to look at that. You should be ashamed of yourself." Speaking to the media, Chowdhury's son, Shabir, said that he was shocked at what happened, explaining that his father was diagnosed with cancer in his lymph nodes in February 2019. "The way she said that my father should serve jail time for this is really bugged me," he said. "I was really shocked by it. I didn't expect her to yell at us in this kind of situation." Chowdhury's health has also deteriorated, from a heart issue and high blood pressure, while his wife has faced health problems of her own after falling down the stairs and hurting her back. "It's been difficult," the son added, saying how cancer treatments have affected his father's mobility. Speaking about the online support the family has received after the footage was shared, people understand that a situation like this can happen with someone who is old or sick. "I'm really thankful to those in our city who have supported us and letting us know they are beside us." And of course, the judge not made for comment. My question here is this. Okay, twofold question. Number one, whatever happened to getting to know your neighbors? And if you know your neighbors are ill, taking that extra 10, 15 minutes to help them out. Whatever happened to that humanity? I don't get it. And number two, what kind of power trip was this judge on? You would swear that she is the head of her local, homeowners association, just flexing that power as strong as she could in order to prove her point. By damn it, cancer? Oh, hell with that. That's not an excuse. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, the lack of humanity. It's terrible. And don't give me the COVID crap either. Has nothing to do with COVID. Being a good neighbor has nothing to do with COVID. Right? Example, my neighbor across the street doesn't even have a snow shovel. Well, pardon me, he has a snow shovel, but a small one. I went up to him and I said, "Hey, man, You ever need to borrow my snowblower? Go for it. Just come grab it. So he has. He's offered me gas money. No, I don't need it. I don't need it. Just helping out a neighbor. My other neighbor, 2 doors down, has a big snowplow on the front of his truck. Guess what? The front of my driveway is cleared. Our entire street has been cleared of snow because he did a neighborly thing. Take care of your neighbors. Not sounding like I'm ragging on you, but it's just good, honest advice. Because one day you may need them. Maybe they know how to torque a wrench or fix a leak in a pipe. Or your lawnmower isn't working, and they're good with that. Or maybe your son throws a ball in their yard, and you need to go get it. Just be a good neighbor. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the wonderful news tonight. Really do appreciate that. Thank you to everybody for tuning us in tonight, along with Sinead Whelehan, our guest. And it's been a very emotional day with the loss of Butch Witkowski and Strange Days. We will continue Strange Days. We'll have a tribute show on the next one for the mighty Butch. Yes, the Butch is back, but only in memory. And we love you, Butch. This one's for you. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god of self. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, and God bless you, Butch Witkowski. Oh. Just updated this computer last night. It's asking for another bloody update. I love when that happens. All right, let's go like this. Download that. Guys, I will be right back. I really need to take a bathroom break. So give me a couple seconds. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Be right with you. I'm just downloading some stuff here. Quite the heavy night, man. Quite the heavy night. Hi, gorgeous Melissa Nicole. Kyle Evans, how you doing? Jason Pearl, good to see you. Good morning, Body Tech. Oli, how you doing, man? Almost done, guys.
We're watching.
We're watching. There we go. All right. Let's edit this crap up. Let's see. Keyboard. Any questions that you may have, feel free to ask away. Go from there. Weird day. Weird day. Oh, Jenny, I totally want to hear your Bigfoot story. I totally do. Yeah, if Robert Bigfoot in Germany wants to fill in, man, I will totally do that show tomorrow night, Duke. Totally do that show. He was in the chat room earlier, and then I didn't see him. Yeah, I would love to do that show with him. Lester Taylor, how are you, buddy? I think that's it there. No, that ain't it. Is that it?
Oh.
You're listening to Space.
Right there. That was the one where she was laughing. That's funny. That's funny. That's what you get for not having your mute button on, Dave. That's all right. Hey, Duke, call me in the morning with his information. Remember, I'm about an hour behind on you. Or shoot me a text message and I'll call you back. Hey, Melissa, where's the rest of the crew that you're usually traveling with? Where's Spooky Morales? This is night number 2 that Spooky has not been here. Hi, Joan Dillon. How are you? Damn it, filth. Gonna make me cry again. I would say to him, I'm gonna. Thanks, Bill. I'll show you guys at the end. Actually, I'll just show you guys right now. That's why I love our man, Dirty filth. He knows how to catch our feelings completely. Wow. Wow, man. If that doesn't hit you right in the feels, thank you, Melissa. One knockout punch, man. That is one knockout punch right there. Wow. That's why I love our filth. That beautiful man sure knows how to catch a moment. Yeah, that one will get framed. That one will get framed. Duke, we were all blessed to be able to listen to him once a month. We're all blessed. I'll be good for tomorrow. Oh, God. When Butch was talking about that lady being Godzilla, oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. That was awesome. Thank you, Michael Haywood, for bringing that up. Oh, God. Evan Walters, Butch Witkowski passed away this morning. He died in his sleep. He hadn't been feeling well for a day or two. Told his wife last night that he wasn't feeling well. She asked if he wanted to go to the doctors, and he's like, no, we'll go in the morning. And he never woke up. God damn. Butch frickin' Witkowski. Oh, Sovereign Farts. You are a piece of work. You are a piece of work. At least now he's probably sitting on a lawn chair beside the bipedal canine, both of them sharing a pack of cigarettes and probably a bottle of whiskey. Definitely a case of beer. Goth, what's happening on Twitch? How you doing, man? Paula W., I saw you in here earlier. How you doing? You can ask all the alien questions you want, Goth, on Twitch. Hey, gorgeous Larry, how you doing? Fap, if Butch Witkowski runs into you on the other side, he's going to say, my God, the SOR crowd was right. You do have a monster head. Land a chopper on that thing. Could you imagine if Butch Witkowski reincarnated right away, how cranky he would be? How pissed off he would be? That would be the angriest child ever for a family. That child will have potty mouth from the time it can learn how to speak. God damn it, he'll probably do it too. Just to piss us off. All right, Goth Gash. So I'm too lazy to Google this, but someone said there are two possibilities. Either we're alone in the universe or we are not, and either possibility is terrifying. Might have been Carl Sagan. I don't know. What do you think humanity would do if we had a definite and an undeniable answer? That is the $1 million question. And I can tell you right now, without sounding like a person who is a negative Nancy, but I really do not like that thought, because the majority of people out there are so not ready for that answer. I do believe there is life out in the universe. I do believe it's been here. I do believe that it is only a matter of when, not if anymore. I think the world governments are worried about it. I think the militaries are worried about it. I think the economy and the economists are worried about it. There's a lot to worry about. There is a lot to worry about. And we're not ready. We are not ready at all. And it's scary to think about. I don't worry about myself because I already know the answer. But I do worry about I worry about people who are not awake to the concept yet that we are not alone, even though all the proof shows that that answer is true. We've got our heads up our asses so far, the majority of us on this planet, that we're more worried about video games, social media, public perception than we are being awakened to what is happening on the world. It's scary. It's a scary answer, Goth. It's a great question, but it's a scary answer. I hope I answered your question okay. Grantavius, how you doing, buddy? Ev, we're gonna play some clips of Butch on the night that he was was scheduled to be our guest. I'm going to bring in Lon Strickler, Sean Forker, Eric Altman, Brian Bowden, and maybe one or two others to say a proper goodbye to good old Butchie. Melissa, Dave, if you get the option to reincarnate, do you think you would do it all again? I think I would come back as an animal. I'd like to be a bird. Be a nice eagle. With my luck, I'll end up a fucking ostrich or an emu. But I'd like to be an eagle. Just so I could just soar. It's a short life, but a good one. Is it me or the quality of stream getting lower? Well, I am sinking in my chair. I'm slouching. Oh. Mike L., how you doing? Being a killer whale would be kind of cool. Although, I often wonder, you look at animals, you're always on alert as an animal. That's what kind of sucks. Because there's always something trying to kill you. Whether it's bugs, whether it's predators. That was my chair that farted. It always pops. Every time I lean back, it pops. That sent, upload this one. Wolverine is a good one. Or a honey badger. Who knows, Grantavius? That's a good question. Wonder if coming back into life after death means you have to stay on the earth as we know it. Don't know. Don't know. I haven't scaled myself lately. I feel like I'm stagnant right now. Butch will probably come back as a bipedal canine. That's what I think he's going to do. He'll come back as a bipedal canine. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you right now, if I run into a bipedal canine this spring, it's definitely going to be Butch. I'll walk up to that sucker and I'll say, "Hey, Butch, how you doing, buddy?" Thank you, Grantavius, for that awesome super chat, man. Really appreciate it. I hope he does, Pam. I hope he does. Kobayashi on Twitch. Yes, I have seen a couple of aliens. Oh. So the rest of my hair starts to grow out. Probably trim that down by the summertime. Grantavius, that's a story I would love to hear, man. I would love to hear that. Oh, wow. There we go. On that note, we're going to say goodnight. Armando, how you doing? Sorry, guys. I'm kind of out of it. My last encounter with a UFO was a couple of years ago. I haven't seen a UFO in a couple of years. All right, guys. We're going to say goodnight. And we'll talk to you all tomorrow. Duke, message me in the morning. You got my phone number. Message me in the morning, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace, Butch. Much love to you.